This hour of The Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, let's get moving here for a Thursday afternoon and a busy one at that. Good afternoon, Sue Thomas.
Good afternoon.
And the Hall of Famer Fred Bottomer is here as well. Hi, Fred.
Hey, Mark.
I want to say that I'm going to look for special dispensation here for what happened yesterday, but I forgot Sue's birthday yesterday. But you know whose birthday it is today?
Roger Brand.
No, it's Oreo the Bunny. Oreo Smorio the Bunny on Instagram. He's 2 years old today. Happy birthday to Oreo. We celebrated with a piece of hay this morning and shared it together, and it was awesome.
Well, that's a sweet story, isn't it, Fred?
I have put the
so much more
pictures up on Instagram. Well, look, you know, he's my emotional support bunny, but he is 2 years old. This is our best guess at his birthday. I don't really know if this is his birthday, but we kind of, picked this as his birthday. So big celebration tonight.
Wait a minute,
cake
I'm sorry.
And everything.
You don't even know if it's his birthday?
Well, this was the best guess. Look, he was born on a farm, and my friend Sue Yeager did not exactly chart when all the bunnies were born, but we knew how old he was. He was born this week, essentially.
So his fake birthday is today?
Oh, my gosh.
Just checking.
Yes, Sue.
Okay, got it.
His fake birthday.
I just
And
FYI.
you remembered that
Yeah.
as opposed to Sue's
Well,
real birthday.
can I tell you why I remembered it? Here's what's funny. So I would never have known. I would have forgotten. But I get an email from Hope Animal Clinic, which is where I go. They're in Jeffco, not too far from Gravois Bluffs, and they specialize, which is so awesome. They have a lot of bunnies. Like, they actually are the vet that sees a lot of bunnies, and they sent something out this morning that said, "Happy birthday to Oreo." I'm like, oh, it's my little bunny's birthday.
Well, that's sweet.
Well, you know how much I love him, though. He's great. He really is. He's a lot of fun. I called him this morning. He came right to his name. I gave him his cilantro. He had cilantro for breakfast.
So you didn't remember it. You were told.
Yeah, I was told.
Got it. Okay, that's good clarification. That probably makes Sue feel a little bit better.
All right. Well, anyway, you did have a nice birthday last night, though.
I did. Thank you.
Perfect. I had a really good time last night because, Ethan, you and I haven't talked about this because you were in the studio, but let me just cover a bunch of different things here as we start the show. Holy moly, the Mizzou game against Texas A&M. It was a battle from the very beginning. I was telling Fred, there's a way. I've been around this team for a long time, and I'm not saying that this is scientifically proven every time, but you can usually tell whether a team's going to be competitive in a game in the first few minutes, and there was a lot of intensity there on the part of the Tigers. But, Ethan, did you watch the game?
I did not know.
Okay, so, Sue, listen to this. You don't even have to know anything much about teams. In the first half of that game, Mizzou played very well. They ended up 5 points down in the half. There were 9 different players on Texas A&M that hit a three-point shot in the first half.
Oh.
They had 9 three-pointers from 9 different players.
That is amazing.
And, I mean, they're shooting lights out, and it goes down to a 1-point victory. We beat them 86-85. The reason that's important is because we're getting down to bubble time here with the NCAA tournament, and that is a big resume builder for Mizzou beating on the road one of the, if not maybe the best team in the SEC, certainly one of them at the top tier of the SEC. So that was great. That really was awesome. Let me see here. Let me just tell you the quick story about getting off the highway. I shared this with Fred. I don't even know, how do you describe this, Sue? So I'm on 55. I exit at Lafayette.
Yeah.
And when you get off at that exit there, you have to kind of
44.
wind around.
You're on 44.
I'm on 44. Did I say 55?
Yes.
What do I know? 44. So you know how that exit sort of loops around and takes you to Lafayette?
It's a sharp turn.
Yeah. So, but, you slow down in there.
Yeah.
So I hit that exit, and we're going like 15 miles an hour. There's one of those ugly Teslas in front of me. The Cybertrucks.
Right.
This is amongst one of the more uglier ones I've seen, too. It had like a bunch of roof racks on it. It was weird.
That's interesting.
I still have not seen the interior of one of those, so maybe I'd be swayed by that. But in front of the Tesla was this little car, I don't know, a little Chevy, something like that, going about 15 miles an hour. So we're going around the exit. We're going around I'm like, oh, you know me. I have like all the patience in the world, right? So we finally get to the point where we're on Lafayette, and I'm like, okay, I can get past this guy. So I finally pass him, and I'm approaching the intersection there.
There's a traffic light there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But there's an intersection right where the Walgreens is, right?
Yes.
So I kind of hit the gas a little bit, and I see it turn yellow as I'm kind of in the middle of the intersection, right? Mm-hmm. But I clear it, I look back, the guy that's going 15 miles an hour is still going 15 miles an hour, and he blows right through the red light. Like there's nothing going on. I'm looking at this in my rearview mirror because I knew that it changed yellow, and it was like a It's like a solid red.
Dang.
Now, I see that a lot in downtown St. Louis, but I don't usually see it with people going like 18 miles an hour. Literally, the guy was going 18.
It's hard to say he blew through the stoplight when you're going
floated.
15 miles an hour.
But I mean, that honestly, when I
Wow,
look back
that's
there, I
dangerous.
would not have been shocked to see someone slam right into him.
So did you
because
see the driver?
I never saw the driver, so I didn't know. It seemed like it had to be an elderly person. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
There was a story out not too long ago that it's almost more dangerous to drive too slow than it is to go too fast. Now, this, of course, was on the interstate, but I think it probably will apply to more places than one.
Well, when you're going that slow.
Right. And now I'm not talking about going 100 miles an hour and expecting things to be fine, but they're saying if you're going extremely slow versus a little bit fast, it's dangerous.
No, absolutely. Absolutely it
I
is.
had an uncle that was pulled over twice for doing that on the highway.
Going too
for
slowly?
going under
Really?
the speed limit.
It runs in the
I
family.
guess they don't.
Yeah.
No, I go.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you get a
normal.
ticket?
I think so.
Well, because they had, I think we have this here, and I don't know if it's ever enforced. I know Illinois had it for a while. They had the left lane hogging ones. Like, get the F over it. That's what drives me crazy. The people in the left-hand lane that think that they can just sit there and go under the speed limit, and everyone's
not
passing
good.
them. And talk about lack of self-awareness completely. Not to mention, it's more dangerous. So I think what happens is, especially if you're coming around a curve or something like that, where it's a little more blind and someone's going slower. All right, just on a travel, just because I have random things and I wanted to toss out here this afternoon, I am seeing, and maybe we should talk about this on the roundtable tomorrow, but I'm seeing more and more cases of pictures of people on Southwest Airlines flights telling the same story that Matt Pauly told a couple of nights ago, or maybe that was yesterday, now that I'm thinking about it, and also the Sklar brothers, where they're on a plane. There's nobody on the plane, really. Like, there's only about 15 people on the plane. There was a guy this morning. I didn't know who this guy was. It was someone random that was retweeted on X. And the guy's like, they won't let me change my seat, my assigned seat.
What is that?
And I don't know. But I'm telling you, I'm seeing enough of this online. And you can't tell me that Southwest is not aware that their customers are pissed off right now.
They have to be.
So
they have to be.
This is a company that has had this excellent reputation. What in the world are they doing to themselves?
I wish I knew.
So that's just kind of bizarre. Now let's talk about the SAVE Act, which has passed the House. It's going to go to the Senate, and it's not going to pass in the Senate likely. But the theatrics behind this are just incredible. And let me just say it this way. Maybe you have friends out there that are going to pull all these nonsense sound bites, or not sound bites, but just talking points like, oh, it's Jim Crow 2.0, and it's going to prevent people. It's disenfranchising all these people. Again, to make things clear, the people that are disenfranchised in my audience here are the people in Illinois, because you're outside of Cook County and you have no say in what happens in federal and statewide elections. But Fred, you remember when I did this years ago on KMOX? I begged someone in the city to bring me one person who did not have an ID and couldn't vote. I did this for months. And you would think that they could come up with one person. No one. I challenge people all the time. I challenge them right now. Bring me a person who cannot vote because they don't have an ID and they can't prove they're a citizen. Who is that person? Bring them to me. I'll interview them here in the studio, right? But the reason that I know, and I'm gonna admit to something here, because believe it or not, I like to vet these issues, and I like to look at different sides of the issues, and I like to see if the things that my side is saying are true. Okay, so I know that there's these claims on the part of the Democrats about what this is going to do, and married women who change their names and all this other stuff. I'm like, wow, I can look at this. But here's what I know. I know that when Georgia changed their voting laws years ago, and Larry David did a complete season of Curb Your Enthusiasm framed around that nonsense. The whole narrative about you can't give someone any water if they're standing in line. That's illegal to do, right? So all this crap, which, by the way, the truth of that was anyone could have water. Anyone could have given them, except for the poll workers and the electioneering that was going on from the other campaigns. So anyone could have water. It's fine. But people bought into these lies. Same thing was said right back then. Jim Crow 2.0. What happened? More people voted in Georgia in the last election than ever before. I mean, it was historic. And they said the same crap about that they're saying about the SAVE Act. So shut the F up. Because you're lying about it. You lied about Georgia. You guys lie all the time. I mean, even let's just take the Jim Crow part of it, all right? The rest of it out of there. To in any way, shape, or form compare this to what African American black people should be pissed. They should be pissed to say, are you kidding me, Chuck Schumer? You're comparing what this is to what I went through in the 1960s and the 1970s and 80s? You got to be kidding me. You have no idea. And by the way, the Jim Crow laws were not around in the 1980s. I'm just pointing out we've had an evolution on race in this country. We are far less racist than we were 40 years ago. Even Barack Obama admitted that at one point.
And didn't Major League Baseball pull the All-Star game from Atlanta over that issue?
How about, it's just nonsense. It really is. Now, Jennings got into a good battle on CNN. And Fred, I didn't tell you this yet, but what's interesting here is, and maybe this happens on a more regular basis, and I'm not aware of it, but he's on Abby Phillips' show in the evening, right? Abby kind of smacked the crap out of him on X today, and I think it was over this issue. So he's on the panel last night. They're talking about the SAVE Act. He's trying to basically say the same things that I'm saying here for the last couple of minutes. Tell me who can't vote. Who is not going to be able to register to vote?
What voting rights is he taking away from black voters?
Oh, if we look at
the SAVE Act?
The SAVE Act, that's exactly what we're talking about.
So that's the SAVE Act. What? The SAVE Act. What is the SAVE Act going to do? Well, it's gonna force people who already have IDs, who are legally American citizens, to, this is horrible. It's really, really bad, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, sit back, to show their IDs when they vote. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Going to continue to disenfranchise overwhelmingly a lot of people of color. There are so many civil rights organizations that have run the data. If we look at the way that it is going to disenfranchise black voters, it's the same reason why Chuck Schumer called it Jim Crow 2.0.
Oh my God, she just keeps going on. I love the citing the data, right? That's data? Hilarious. You have to go to the think tanks, right? Oh, what I was going to say is here, I kind of want to circle back on something here, because when I was vetting this issue, it is nearly impossible. Maybe this is some blame on the Republicans. It's nearly impossible to find anything out there. Just try it. Google it right now. That is not completely biased on that topic.
I'm sure.
It's the think tanks that hate the SAVE Act, right? Those are the ones that come to the top of the stories. Now, I would say, in fairness, that the Republicans, and I know they're out there doing some media. I heard Senator Schmidt last night on Laura Ingraham. That was rare. He's barely on that show at all. But, maybe they need to market it just a little bit better, too. But here's Jennings, a little bit more of this discussion last night, because he kept saying how, offer proof.
This is the same president. If we want to continue.
You haven't said how yet.
I am talking about it. It's the way that you're putting new poll taxes on this when you're making people have. That's what we can call them now. It's kind of an idiom, right?
What?
If you want to say that people have to prove that they are citizens, that they have to prove with a voter ID. The reality is, and there have been people out there on the internet that have put a list together. There's like 2,000 things that you need IDs for, right? And people have them. But the panel has to go on there with all the 2.0 talking points that Chuck Schumer provides them. Layering what is a constitutional right for the American people and making it harder for people to vote in this country. And it's going to disenfranchise black voters.
Concern you that you're making all these claims? You've yet to lay out how it's hurting anyone, but 76% of black voters think we should show an ID to vote. 80% of Hispanic voters, 83% of the American people. Are you saying that black voters are too dumb to know what's good for them? I mean, it sounds pretty condescending to me. You get three-quarters of black voters.
Yeah, they're going to keep yelling there, but he's right about that. I mean, they do this. I honestly cannot believe we're still arguing about voter ID and whether someone should have to present an ID, because you always have to, and you should have to, and you should have to prove that you're a citizen.
It's common sense.
And it's not that hard, okay? And this nonsense, this is what they get into last night. This nonsense that if you're in rural America, you're an idiot. Or if you're a woman and you got married, you're too dumb
to change your... I'm telling you, it's so easy. I just did it.
Stop it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, watch out for an accident. Westbound 6440 approaching 270, and they've got the right lanes blocked. It's just really close to Ballas. And then the next one is, of course, 270, and those are the exit lanes. So just be careful. It's a little slow going through there. In fact, we've got slow traffic back past Lindbergh. Now, eastbound is lined up, 170 through Big Bend. Westbound 70, moderate volume at the airport and at Wentzville. It's just the beginning of the PM drive, so it's really not bad. But southbound 55, starting to slow as you head toward Bates. We look fine if you're headed into Illinois on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
At Gray Bar, we know your time is money. That's why our services go beyond parts and products. With kitting, pre-assembly, wire carts, and Gray Bar smart reels that keep you moving. We stage materials and manage logistics so you can spend less time sorting and more time installing. And with locations nationwide, we deliver when and where you need it, working to make your job easier every step of the way. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Well, I'm going to just declare this. Going through a divorce sucks. It sucks really bad. It's hard. You're going to be angry. But here's the good news. It will be behind you before you know it. I can speak from experience there. But that will happen quicker if you have someone on your side that has a ton of experience like Susan L. Ward and really knows the judges here in St. Louis, has expertise that is literally decades long in the St. Louis area practicing family law. And that's not only the end of a marriage. It could be things that happen post-divorce with modifications, et cetera. They can handle all of that, even domestic violence and issues like that in her law firm. They have a beautiful office. It's relatively brand new. They moved in May there at 270 in Manchester, but the website really has everything that you would need. And Susan will tell you, and there's a blog on her site that sort of offers advice on picking a lawyer. And one of the first things she says is make sure you reach out as soon as you think that there are problems, because that's going to prevent you from making some mistakes that will haunt you in the future. STLFamilyLaw.com, the focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
I got you something extra special for Valentine's Day.
Yeah?
How does a blow and go sound?
I like it.
Great. Air Comfort Service will be here on Monday.
Wait, what?
Our attic insulation is in bad shape. Air Comfort Service heating and cooling and insulation can top off our insulation with blow and go and make our home more energy efficient. We can save up to 30% on our energy bills.
I love it when you talk savings to me.
Schedule your blow and go attic installation from Air Comfort Service. Visit aircomfortservice.com/blow today.
Dreaming of college but worried about the cost? The Together Foundation is here to help. The Together Foundation is awarding 5 $1,500 scholarships to St. Louis area students who are ready to take the next step toward their future. Applying is simple, but time is limited, as applications will be accepted through March 31st. Learn more or apply at togethercu.org/scholarship. That's togethercu.org/scholarship. This community message has been brought to you by Together Credit Union.
2 St. Louis icons, 1 legendary tribute. Join the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra and St. Louis City SC at Powell Hall on Sunday, February 15th for Eternal, a tribute to Tina Turner. Presented by Purina, with performances by special guests including conductor Anthony Parthener, Grammy Award-winning artist Brittany Howard of Alabama Shakes, and our city's own Kennedy Homes. This is your chance to experience the ultimate journey through Tina's immortal catalog. Tickets are limited. Get yours now at slso.org.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Well, I would say more confusing information coming out of Tucson in the Nancy Guthrie case, and Alex del Carmen is with us. He's a criminologist, been at it for 28 years, used to teach at the FBI National Academy of Quantico. Back with us. Alex, how are you this afternoon?
Thanks for having me again.
Let me start with the gloves, because everything about this case seems weird. When we saw the gloves the other night, they looked odd. I mean, I think a couple of people said it was gloves maybe pulled over different types of gloves. I've heard diagnoses today about brown gloves versus black gloves and everything. But you're telling me whoever this dude is kind of just threw the gloves out the window or something?
Maybe, right? So, I mean, we can't discard any possibility out there, but I don't think anybody from the law enforcement side is saying that those are exactly, his gloves, or that they matched. What they did say is they picked it up because it is within a certain radius of where it was, and they looked the same from some perspectives. But again, the lens, the camera, the time of day in which the video shots were taken, they can all be deceiving, right? So we have to wait and see what Quantico says in terms of whether or not there's any DNA and whether or not they actually match something like what he was wearing on that night.
So when it comes to the DNA and how that would work, so if you run it through the crime database, maybe it's not there, right? If you're looking for a suspect. But then there are, and this happened like in the Kohlberger case too, there are ways to run, and I don't know what the process is here, but there's ways to run DNA through like the 23s and me's and stuff like that, isn't there?
That's right. And then, so the database for DNA is global, right? So, there's third parties that actually hold your DNA that with a court warrant or some sort, they would be able to release that if need be. But the reality is more than just being able to match it, which is certainly the hope of any investigator doing this. What they want to do is have a positive DNA on this guy so we know who we're looking for. So the next time there's a traffic stop and somebody, is stopped that looks suspicious and the profile begins to fit who the bad guy is, the DNA will absolutely confirm whether or not we have the right person or not.
What did you make of this white tent that was set up outside of Nancy Guthrie's home for a while? It seemed to be, to me, maybe they were trying to make things darker because of the sun to take some more images or pictures. There's been a theory that some measurements are being taken to at least nail down more accurately the height of the suspect. Your thoughts on that? That seemed like something that maybe should have been put up a week ago, not today.
Exactly, yeah. But at the same time, what likely happened was they put up this tent in order to be able to run some tests in the entryway of the house, and then also where the camera was located. And they don't want anyone out there taking pictures or trying to come up with hypotheses as to what they're doing. So it's more for their own privacy and to contain the scene. But I agree with you. I mean, look, people have been coming in and out of that house for the past, 10 days. And the crime scene is pretty contaminated by now. So hopefully they can do their due diligence and be able to extract whatever it is that they're looking for right now.
So to most of the country, I think, watching this, we're frustrated. You have absolute empathy for the Guthries and what they're going through. But we're used to instant gratification in many ways. And on these cases, there's not very many of these that go national like this. We're on day 10, and the sheriff's department out there hasn't even held a news conference for a week because they said they weren't going to until we have more developments. So is this, because we're all focusing on it, in your opinion, just the natural course of an investigation? Because it does seem like it's taking a long time, or is it just because we're not used to having all these things kind of play out in front of our eyes?
Those of us that are actually doing this kind of work, and have been doing it for a while, as it is in my case, we oftentimes, kind of raise our eyebrows when we hear people tell us, well, is it not going to be resolved by tomorrow? Because, people are used to watching TV and watching the movies. And, of course, in a matter of an hour and 35 minutes, the criminal is in prison, the sentence has been issued, and the good guy is back recovering all his or her property. It doesn't work that way, right? So, these are very complicated cases. And I'll throw something at you that I think is really, really important for the public to consider, and that is this is the first time in modern history. And what I mean by modern history is we have social media, we have AI, we have all these other components that law enforcement in the United States is handling a case of this magnitude related supposedly to a kidnapping. And so, I think that what that does is it gives a lot of challenges to law enforcement from the standpoint that people can fabricate through AI voices. They can leave ransom notes that are absolutely, not accurate. And so, we have to sift through all of that. And then, of course, have to rely on the various techniques and approaches that we have. I have to fly evidence up to Quantico. It takes a while. And, I'm not going to do Monday morning quarterbacking just yet, but I do know that obviously some errors were made initially by the local sheriff. And, of course, we're going to have to see where this ends up and at what point we're going to start asking questions on that.
So, Alex, what do you think, at this point, I don't even know if there's a way to gauge this, but you would, as a law enforcement guy who's been doing this for a long time, I would assume, you tell me, have a fair amount of confidence with all this evidence, with all the work they're doing. Eventually, we're going to track down this suspect.
There's no question. And I don't typically say that about, cases, but I think in this particular case, I have a really deep sense that we are going to end up knowing who the bad guy is, whether we end up, catching this person alive or this person is going to be dead by the time we show up. We are going to finally figure out who it is that is behind all of this and perhaps the motive, right? What I am rather pessimistic about is the whereabouts of Nancy at this point, because I tell you, every day that passes is a less day likely that we're going to find her alive.
One more question on the suspect. Did you see, I'm increasingly becoming more uncomfortable with TMZ and their involvement in this and Harvey Levin, and they get these stories right sometimes, but they're kind of making themselves a bit of the focus here because of the alleged ransom notes that have come through. But Harvey and the TMZ gang had some video that they were sharing. This has been shared on social from an area that was 5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house, where it was a guy with a backpack in, looks like an alley or something like that, moving around. maybe the same guy, but the time frame is super tight. It would take him, he'd take 19 minutes to get to Nancy Guthrie's house if it's the same guy. That's possible, but have you seen that video, and do you think it's related or not?
I haven't seen it, but you got to remember too that that's part of what I was making a point of earlier, which is that everybody's playing, Sherlock Holmes in this case, and there are a lot of folks out there that are looking for that, to be in front of the cameras and to receive all the attention and all the ratings and whatnot, and they're playing investigators. That's a rather dangerous game to play because, to be honest with you, sometimes, they run into things that perhaps even law enforcement may not, but at the same time, for the most part, they confuse the public. They give, suspicions to people that may not necessarily be on the radar screen and should not be. And then also, they raise expectations among the public where the public may actually think that we have a clue and that law enforcement is ignoring it when, in fact, that clue is not a clue at all.
Yeah, that's right. I told this story the other day. I was able to do this thing here in St. Louis many years ago. It was awesome. It was they call it the FBI Citizens Academy. And, civic leaders and I guess media members like me, I'm not much of a leader, Alex, were able to sit in a bit of a classroom situation. But one of the things they did is they did a little bit of an example of how they tracked down someone involved in a sex crime. And they had one photograph, and we were kind of tasked with trying to identify things in that photograph of this girl, and her face was blocked out, that might be useful in the investigation. So we all took our guesses. In the end, what they did is they found her cheerleader, uniform was very unique. They tracked down the manufacturer. They go to the manufacturer, and then they almost are at a dead end. And someone finally says, "Yeah, you know what? I kind of remember that from a team, in whatever state it was." And they track that down. They find the person, who sold this picture because they had found this in a child porn investigation. But then they eventually found the girl, where the picture came from. It was her father that was selling it. But it was an example to me of just the meticulous nature of how these investigations go through and how maybe even just a little tiny bit of evidence can really lead to, a resolution.
I had the fortune 28 years ago of meeting Bob Ressler, who is the guy that founded the behavioral analysis unit in Quantico, who is responsible really for analyzing and trying to figure out, why people do what they do and ultimately end up finding the bad guy. But I tell you, it's incredible the type of discipline, the attention to detail that is paid by those of us that work in that area. We look at the backpack, at the makeup of the backpack. What's in that backpack, and then start coming up with hypotheses. Or what sort of mask is he wearing? Where could he have bought that mask? And let's do an online search as to who sells it, and then let's talk to other people that may know this or the other. AI is likely helping Quantico as well.
Yeah, right.
Trying to figure out the identity of this guy, right? So look, every single tool that law enforcement has available is being used in this case. I have absolutely zero doubt that we're going to end up with the bad guy, because otherwise, there's going to be a lot of people fired and a lot of people unemployed as a result of this, right? But I will say to you that this is a frustrating case because everyone wants to help. Everyone's playing, Monday morning quarterbacking. And I'll tell you, I'm fascinated by the fact that people are fascinated about this criminal incident, in the sense that they all want to help and they all want to solve it, but many of them lack the experience and the knowledge of what happens behind the scenes, which is really what most of the work right now, 99.9% of the work, we are not hearing about it. We're not seeing it. We're not having those conversations with these folks. And so, but I promise you, there's a lot going on, and this is a 24/7 operation.
Alex del Carmen, great stuff. Really, really appreciate it this afternoon. Let's hope for some resolution quickly. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thanks again.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We had a little bit of an issue on westbound 6440 approaching 270, and it was an accident or a stall, but it was blocking those two right lanes, which of course eventually become the lanes that take you to 270. Well, that appears to be gone, and traffic behind that is looking better. But if you're westbound on 64, we've got slow pockets from Clayton Skinker to just past Lindbergh, and an accident reported now just a little bit before Clayton Warson. So some slow-moving traffic in that area. Southbound 170 is lined up, headed for 6440. 70 westbound, not bad. A little bit slow at Wentzville. And eastbound 40 is slow, 170 through Big Bend. Now, most of the volume on southbound 270 is moderate, but it's from Page down through Doherty Ferry. 44 is jammed up at 270, and 55 looks slow at Bates. Now, on the Illinois side, eastbound 64 slows at 157, but we're fine on the bridges. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Triton Exteriors. We take care of your home. It's that simple. Triton-STL.com. Home improvement projects can come with a lot of headaches. We save you time by offering packaged services that are easy to understand and based on your needs. We take care of the details so you don't have to. Visit us at Triton-STL.com. That's Triton-STL.com.
I think it's crazy that we're already in mid-February since it's such a short month, and that means that our very first Protecting Your Retirement event with the team from the Retirement Advisory Group is coming up very quickly. Next Tuesday. These are free events. We do 5 a year. We'd love to see you, and there's a bit of a location change, so maybe this makes it a little easier for some of you. It's the DoubleTree by Hilton. We used to do this at Plaza Frontenac, but moving a little further west. It's next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. I mentioned these are free, but we do need to know that you're coming so we can reserve a seat, and I think Thomas and the team will bring some cookies, too, so you got that going for you. But if you're looking for a different strategy, you're a little freaked out about retirement, you want to know how you can minimize your losses in a market right now that's really rocking and rolling, but how long will that last? The other thing that I always like to mention is you don't have to show up next week. You don't even have to register. If you want to go one-on-one into the office, you can do that as well. And on that same website at retirementkey.com, they make it very easy for you to do either. Or you can always call the office, 314-993-9494 for the official financial planners of this show. Thomas Helbig, his nephew, Bob Kershaw, Bob's wife, Tammy, they were on yesterday. And the Retirement Advisory Group. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Hi, it's Mark Cox inviting you to join me September 30th as we discover the charm of Switzerland, Austria, and Germany with Colette Travel. Spend 4 nights in Bern and then 4 nights at the foot of the Alps in Innsbruck. From the cobblestone streets to the postcard-worthy mountain landscapes of the amazing Alps, we're going to explore the Swiss capital of Bern and lovely Lucerne, the Swiss paradise on the lake. We'll travel the Austrian countryside to Salzburg with a visit to Mozart's birthplace, and then Mirabelle Gardens featured in The Sound of Music. This and so much more. Colette handles all the details. The flights, the meals, the hotels, the local experiences. All you have to do is have the time of your life. Don't miss this trip. Meet me and the folks from Colette to learn more at the Lodge at De Pere, Tuesday, February 24th at 2 p.m. Call Colette at 800-581-8942 or go to 971talk.com/events for details.
They're good.
Gooder than you can imagine.
And you can assure me that they've got it going on.
Most of St. Louis thinks so.
But my lips are turning blue. Are they fast?
My darling, Jerry Kelly can install a new furnace tomorrow, no matter what day tomorrow is, even if we call late night.
You are my hero.
Technically, Jerry Kelly is your hero, but I'll take it.
JerryKelly.com. They're fast and they're good and they got it going on. JerryKelly.com.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And at 3:36, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Consistently right.
It's a ritual.
97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, so I mentioned this briefly on the show yesterday, and I admitted at the time that it's a story that probably would get a lot more coverage in this country if it wasn't for the Nancy Guthrie situation. But there was a school shooting in Canada, an 18-year-old who was trans. Okay, there's a big shocker. Here's how the AP story reads. Suspect in Canada shooting is identified as an 18-year-old with a history of police visits to her home. It says the suspect in a school shooting in Canada was an 18-year-old who had a history of police visits to her home to check on her mental health. It was a boy. It's a man, but they don't care about that in Canada.
I will say this. We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and publicly.
Yeah. You tell me if this sounds like a well-adjusted person. Have you seen this video?
No.
It's this dude just laughing over their there are satanic references. I mean, it's beyond creepy, evil, and mentally deficient. Bethany Mandel is back with us this afternoon. She's got something to say about this. She writes for the Deseret News. How are you? Welcome back, Bethany. Hope all is well.
Thank God. Thank God. I actually haven't written for Deseret in a long time. This piece was for the New York Post.
Sometimes Fred pulls some of the stuff from previous sheets, and then the host is unaware of that, so I apologize for that.
No worries.
This one is where, just so we identify it correctly?
The New York Post.
Oh, yeah. All right. There you go. Sorry, I missed that, Bethany. Sometimes, again, the host doesn't listen very well either. But this is one of those things. I mean, again, it's not getting a lot of attention. I don't even know outside of the Nancy Guthrie thing because it's in Canada. We know we don't have the same amount of coverage. But this was a pretty serious school shooting, and it follows a bit of a pattern here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And it's not getting a lot of coverage because it's not convenient. So if the narrative were different, I think it would be getting a lot more coverage. But as soon as, the first reports of there was a female school shooter, people were like, what? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
That's not normal. And then when folks realized, oh, wait a second, this was a biological male, the mainstream media got an eject button. And they were like, absolutely not. Let's not focus on this. And so they completely ignored it. And, the New York Times described this individual as a woman. The Reuters did as well. I had a lot of examples actually in the piece, but it's the New York Post, so you have to deal with the word count that you have on the physical page, and so a lot of those examples were cut. But across the board, the last thing they did was honor this individual who committed a mass murder by using their preferred pronouns.
Right.
And the argument of the piece is like, there were warning signs because this person is clearly mentally ill because they think they are the wrong gender. That's sign number one. And Americans, not just Americans, but the Western world has been conditioned and trained to ignore these warning signs because no one wants to be a bigot, no one wants to be offensive. But I don't know how much longer we have to all be forced to put our heads in the sand before we all just come to the realization that we do so at our peril.
I'm looking at this AP story. That's what I sort of, pulled those headlines from when they referred to her or him as a her. But when I read down in this whole story, there's no reference to that person being trans at all. And maybe they may argue, well, that's not relevant in this case. Well, it certainly is relevant since we have, as you pointed out, Bethany, in your column, we have a Nashville transgender identified shooter, which is still, not really been totally flushed out. There's mystery around that. In Minneapolis, you had another gender identity situation at a church. You have Charlie Kirk's murderer who had trans association and beliefs. So this isn't just pulled out of thin air by wacky conservatives. There is a pattern here, and it's not slowing down either.
Yeah, no, it's an unmistakable pattern. And we're doing a couple things that are crazy. We are, first of all, affirming these beliefs in people who have clear mental illness, and we don't do that for someone who's anorexic. We don't say, yes, you're fat when you're 97 pounds as a full-grown adult. And we don't then give people who have severe mental health issues hormones and medications that can amplify those delusions and their violent tendencies. And on top of that, we're giving them the messaging that trans people are under assault, that they are in danger and they have to protect themselves. And there's a lot of violent rhetoric that is pervasive in trans, culture and in trans social media spaces. Of course, when you couple mental illness, hormones and medication, and this messaging that they're under threat, yes, that is inevitably going to lead to violence. And no one is putting their hand up and saying, wait a second, maybe we need to change the playbook here because this seems catastrophically bad.
Absolutely. Now, I have Jamie Reed on a regular basis. She was the whistleblower that wrote in the Free Press, 3 years ago. She's from St. Louis, and a lot of that, was exposed here. But what she says, and this always really stands out to me because she talks about, the girls that were coming in that all had comorbidities, depression, anxiety, ADHD, eating disorders, obesity. Many were diagnosed with autism or had autism-like symptoms. So it was very clear to her after a while of seeing these kids that they weren't helping people with, gender dysphoria. They were trying to hop people up on puberty blockers who had severe, in some cases, mental illnesses. There was one guy that came into the clinic that was literally having sex or expressed having sex or a desire to have sex with dogs. So that the obvious answer there is, oh, yeah, that's a gender dysphoria case. Let's hop them up on, some kind of medication. That's what they were doing at Washington University, one of the most elite colleges in this country.
It's really wild. I don't understand how we are meant to respect and trust mental health professionals and just professionals in general in the medical space when they have been so cowed into silence that they're willing to let people kill themselves and kill others because they are too cowardly to say what Jamie Reed did and say, hey, this is wrong and we need to stop.
Yeah, because I'm gonna go. I use that dog example, and I just want to read from this because she says, for example, one teenager came to us in the summer of 22 when he was 17 years old, living in a lockdown facility because he had been sexually abusing dogs. He had an awful childhood. His mother was a drug addict. His father was in prison. He grew up in foster care. I mean, that's awful, right? Whatever treatment he may have been getting, it wasn't working. But then she learns from another caseworker that when he got out, he planned to reoffend because he believed the dogs had willingly submitted. In what universe does that not tell you that that person is deeply, deeply troubled?
Yeah. No, it's really wild. I don't understand how there's not a million Jamie Reeds. What are people doing? Why did they get into this line of work were it not that they wanted to help people? And instead, they are not just hurting their patients, but they're hurting anyone who might become a victim of their patients, like we saw in British Columbia.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just on a separate note, I have to mention this because if you didn't see it, and maybe you did, but did you see the whole thing with NBC having to apologize because a woman skier was competing in a women's event, but was really a man, and they called her a woman, and they misgendered her, and they pulled the feed down and had to apologize? Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Oh, my God. It's my favorite story of the Olympics. You can't make this up. So you have a woman pretending to be a man, but competing in the proper division, the women's, but NBC Universal apologizes because they called her a woman and not a man.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord.
Exactly. How do you, explain? I got an 11-year-old daughter. How do you explain something like that to a kid? It's insanity.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps this is all just a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because when I do try to explain this stuff to my kid, it red pills them so much that they're like, what if grown-ups don't know what they're talking about? I'm like, yeah, what if grown-ups don't know what they're talking about?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that. I love to kind of, make fun of the experts because the experts get it so wrong. And that's what was happening. If you think about it here with the trans situation, these people thought that they were doing something. This is my favorite expert story from this week. Let's see if you've seen this one. Did you see the Washington Post story in the column about the honeybees?
Yes.
It's hilarious. Remember all the
God.
panic. We're killing the honeybees. We were never killing the honeybees. But what we did is we actually saved the wrong ones, and all the misinformation from whenever that was a decade ago hurt other bee populations. So good job, experts, right?
Yep. That was one of my favorite stories also, and one that I did not pay enough attention to because I saw it and just got so angry that I moved on. And I was wrong, and I'm glad that you reminded me of it because it is such an imperfect encapsulation of the experts.
Yep, it really is. Bethany Mandel, always great to have you on. I appreciate it. You take care.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some volume on westbound 44 in front of the Arch Grounds in the depressed section. So just expect a slow go there. And then southbound 55 slows headed toward Bates. 44 westbound is lined up at 270. Southbound 270, moderate volume in pockets from Page through Doherty Ferry. Southbound 170 is slow, south of Olive through 64. And westbound 40, mainly Hampton out through McCausland and then Lindbergh through 270 is a slow go. Then we've got volume on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And westbound 70, a little bit of volume past the airport and at Wentzville. But if you're headed into Illinois, we look fine on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, I want to talk about ThrottleNet here and what they do in St. Louis. And this is really, at the beginning of the year, somebody had this idea. I can't remember who it was. I'm going to give credit to Fred. He's a lot smarter than I. Let's do George Rosenthal, who is a regular guest from ThrottleNet, and let's kind of do this semi-weekly with what we call Tech Talk Tuesdays. Well, there's so much good stuff. We're doing it weekly, and George brings his A-game to the table, and it's fascinating. We learn a lot about AI and other things, and that's Tuesday right around 5:30. But what they can do, what ThrottleNet can do for you is a little different. They can help you make sure that you're safe because cyber threats, as they'll explain, not just a big company problem. Small, mid-sized St. Louis businesses are targeted on a regular basis. They have a situation where no ThrottleNet client has ever paid a ransom because their cybersecurity works. They're also the only IT company that backs their cybersecurity with a $500,000 cyber protection program. So for you as a business owner, it's real easy. You just go online to throttlenet.com/971. That will offer you your free baseline IT security audit. You're going to love George. You're going to love the team at ThrottleNet. They have a lot of passion and experience, and things are getting crazier every day when it comes to cybersecurity. Get with ThrottleNet today, throttlenet.com/971. Hey, it's Mark Reardon. Fish Fry Fridays are here again, and you know what that means. Join us for our Fish Fry Friday kickoff at Fish Fest. The crew will be live February 20th at Holy Trinity Serbian Orthodox Church. See the menu and learn more at 971talk.com/events.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IBW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
The colder weather is here, and my friends at Hanson's Tree Service want to offer you a 10% winter discount for all tree care scheduled between January and March of next year. Mark Cox here. Call now. Get your spot secured. Also, when it comes to winter plant health care, it's a great time to get one of their arborists over. Have them to prescribe the best treatment options for your trees during the fall and winter season. Tell them you heard Mark Cox talking about it. Schedule your appointment today at hansonstree.com.
Want to hear a shocking statistic? Medical malpractice is the third leading cause of death in America. Don't believe it? Google it. And that doesn't count serious injuries like birth injuries to perfectly healthy children. All doctors wear white jackets, but it doesn't make them all the same. Most medical errors are committed by the same quacks over and over again. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Many hospitals looking for more profits are forcing doctors and their groups to be employees of the hospital or be forced out of their system. It's a troubling trend in medicine. People make mistakes, but medical mistakes are huge and often forever. If you believe your child suffered a birth injury or a misdiagnosis or mistake led to a loved one's death or injury, let our team of medical malpractice lawyers examine your case for free. No recovery, no fee. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's best eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is The Mark Reardon Show.
I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I had a friend, and our families had kind of spent a lot of time, so I see his kids grow up, my kids grow up. He's got a daughter who's in high school, and we're just talking one day about dating and stuff like that because my kids were teenagers at the time, and I was told, well, she identifies as queer. I'm like, oh, okay. And I knew this kid pretty well. My initial reaction was, she ain't queer. Okay, what's the deal? Well, she wasn't. Okay, she just got married a month ago. And this brings us to Breezy Johnson, because I had missed this part of our Olympic story, which apparently you have to, if there's anything gender-related or sex-related. I mean, for you, Sue, I don't know about you, but for me, I want to know, for example, the sexual, interests of the U.S. men's hockey team and the U.S. women's. I want to know their habits, what they do. Do they sleep with men, women, two men, two women?
Why do I have to know that? Explain that to
Breezy
me.
Johnson decided that she needed to tell the world that she's bisexual. She's the skier that won. She won gold, didn't she?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was very important to her to win that gold medal and to express to the world that she likes apparently men and women.
I came to the conclusion that I was bi, and then very quickly thereafter came to the conclusion that I had to tell people that because they deserve to know that the world of champions is not just comprised of straight white people.
I hate straight white people personally. They're the worst people out there. But here's the problem, slight problem with Breezy. You know what she did right after telling CBS that?
Hugged her boyfriend.
Her boyfriend invited her to get married. Yeah, engaged. So she's engaged. So, you can certainly, don't get me wrong, I understand you can have, preferences that are different if you get married. But doesn't that kind of
Wait a minute, she got engaged right after that.
Doesn't that kind of tell you that she's just another straight white champion?
Yeah.
She has all this guilt, and she's got to say, "Oh, I'm bisexual," and then she gets engaged to a dude on the mountain. I mean, that's the kind of nonsense that goes on. There's another one out there who is pansexual. I read about this. As soon as I see that, I'm like, why do I care?
Why? I don't.
Then I'll see if I can get this in. Oh man, I want to set this up the right way because it's so good. This is sort of one of those separate but related things. So there's a movie that's coming out. Oh my God. Hold on here. Oh, here it is. Okay. There's a reporter, this is Nikolai Arcel, and there's a new Danish movie called The Promised Land, right? And they're doing a junket, like media members are talking to the filmmaker, the director, about the film The Promised Land, which is, with Nordic people, because it's a period piece, if you will, right? So you have to hear this here.
This is a cast and a Danish production, which is entirely Nordic. It therefore has some lack of diversity, you would say, as also new rules are implied in Hollywood.
What are you on to?
Sorry, but
from the get-go.
From the get-go, there is some... Okay.
Well, first of all, the film takes place in Denmark in the 1750s.
The film takes place in the 1750s in Denmark. And this idiot at this news conference, and they laughed at him because Mads Mikkelsen was there too, who's an actor and a director. And it's just unbelievable that was a question that was asked. And they just laughed at me. Are you kidding? What you want? And this is what, by the way, this is happening. If you look at period pieces, just start counting the races in there, because you have to have, even if it's not a period piece, most of the shows that I watch on Apple TV Plus and everything, man, if you don't have at least one mixed race couple, at least one, usually more than one, and it usually has to be like a white dude and then someone Asian and like a white woman and then someone black. You got to cover a lot of spectrums. It's not just African American anymore, right? Might not just be sexual. Or you have to include some of the sexes. But that's the kind of stuff that happens on a regular basis. It happens in television. Remember, the Oscars went to this rule that we can't nominate you for any, awards if you're not diverse enough. So what do you do when you're making a movie about all white people?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you make things up. That's what they've been doing here for the past few years. It's embarrassing.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads this afternoon, if you're just headed out, westbound 70 is not too bad. In fact, it's the best option out of downtown. Now, we've got a jam westbound coming off of the McKinley Bridge, but 70 itself, just some moderate volume past the airport. 64 lines up approaching Hampton out through McCausland, slowing at 270, and then Highway N out through the 70 split. Eastbound 40 slows right at 270 and also at Big Bend. Moderate volume southbound 170 and 270 headed down towards 64. But we even stretched down through Doherty Ferry on southbound 270. Accident now westbound 44 past Lindbergh. And 55 southbound is slow now south of Arsenal through Bates. We look fine if you're headed into Illinois on the bridges downtown. But watch out for an accident reported now. Eastbound on 64 near 157. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Here's a question for you. If your mom and dad come to visit, you might notice things like in your bathroom, the high tub wall, the slick floor. Maybe they reach for something steady, or they think it's steady and there's nothing there, and you're kind of worried. At Michael's Baths, they help families replace worry with confidence, and they've been doing it for 30-plus years. They specialize in very safe, comfortable bathroom remodels designed for aging in place, from tub to shower conversions to full bathroom remodels. They do the paint, the electrical, so they're not subcontracting that out, and it is an awesome family-run operation. They do install ADA-accessible showers and tubs, custom grab bars and seating. They'll even measure, your most comfortable seat in the house and match it up into the bathroom to make sure that it's perfect for you. High-quality products like Central and Moen, and lifetime warranties. So if you want a great local company that you can trust without gimmicks and lower prices on the bids, Choose a complete replacement, professionally installed, protected, lifetime warranty bathroom with Michaels. And get ready for a spring installation because that's booking up quickly. MichaelsBaths.com, 636-770-800. They do have financing. 0% is available.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon and learn how to create a worry-free retirement with the Retirement Advisory Group. It's coming up on Tuesday, February 17th at the DoubleTree Hotel in Chesterfield at 6:30 p.m. Here are Bob and Tammy Kershaw with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and wondering how to turn your 401k and IRA into a worry-free retirement? Would you like to learn the strategies that give you market growth but protects you from market losses at the same time?
Would you like to get a free personalized retirement income plan? And did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to create a worry-free retirement. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Have a worry-free retirement and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the DoubleTree Hotel in Chesterfield, Tuesday, February 17th at 6:30 p.m. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed. 97.1 FM Talk is proud to support Bourbon for Badges. Mark Cox here. It's hosted by the St. Louis Whiskey Society and the St. Louis Hero Network, February 27th at Tapawingo Golf Club. Get your tickets now at bourbonforbadges.com.
Thursday edition of Sue's News is coming up after Fox News here at the top of the hour. We have Peter Kinder at 4:30.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
A possible stalemate on Capitol Hill. Elisa Brady, Fox News. With Homeland Security funding set to run out tomorrow night, and Democrats still pushing a list of changes for ICE operations.
They want our law enforcement to be totally vulnerable and put them in a lot of danger. They have some things that are really very hard to approve, frankly.
President Trump defending enforcement of immigration laws, but Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer criticizes some tactics as thuggery.
The American people need to see meaningful change, and our Republican colleagues must work with us to make that change happen.
Senate Republicans say ICE funding is already extended in legislation from last year and that a shutdown will hurt other DHS agencies, including the TSA. The Environmental Protection Agency rolling back an Obama-era declaration that led to regulation of greenhouse gases.
Congress never voted for these climate mandates inside of Section 202 of the Clean Air Act. If Congress wants EPA to regulate the heck out of greenhouse gases emitted from motor vehicles, then Congress can clearly make that the law, which they haven't done. For good reason.
EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin says the 2009 endangerment finding was government overreach. President Trump says it damaged the auto industry and drove up prices for consumers. But legal challenges from environmental groups and Democrat governors are expected. Investigators casting a wider net in Arizona, day 12 of the search for Nancy Guthrie. The sheriff's office using Ring and neighborhood apps to ask for more surveillance footage.
It reads in part, we are requesting all video footage that includes vehicles, vehicle traffic, people, pedestrians, and anything you deem out of the ordinary or important to our investigation from January 1st, 2026 through February 2nd, 2026, which is 2 days after anyone saw Nancy Guthrie.
Fox's Alicia Acuna in Tucson, and they want that in a 2-mile radius. America is listening to Fox News.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number, 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The official 97.1 FM Talk Weather Center forecast. Mostly cloudy today, the high of 55. Overcast tonight, chilly with the low down to 35. Mostly sunny, warmer Friday, a pleasant day with the high 63. Mostly cloudy and cooler Saturday with periods of rain in the afternoon, the high of 49. Warmer Sunday with clouds and sun, the high 63. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina for 97.1 FM Talk.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Thursday afternoon here in St. Louis. Hour number 2 coming up here. That means Sue's News for a Thursday in just a few minutes. We'll have a lot of fun tomorrow. Of course, we have a Reardon Roundtable. Let's see here. The mayor of Eureka, Sean Flower, is on the panel. John Gaskin, who is a Democrat lobbyist, will be here as well. Paul Hall on entertainment with some recommendations as we head into the weekend. You know, we're post-Super Bowl, so now a lot of the shows start, and there's a few more releases for streaming, so Paul will be on top of all of that. We'll get Cusimano with a preview of sports into the weekend. I actually have kind of a fun sports story to talk about here in a minute, and then our friend Tim Summer on some music stuff in the 5 o'clock hour. And I told Fred, I said, you know, we have Tim on from time to time, but we like to do, Sue, as you know, when we're at our fish fries, we like to have live guests out there. I was just informed today that our friend George Gray from The Price is Right is confirmed for next Friday doing a live version of a little game we like to call The Price is Wrong, Mark.
Awesome.
At that first fish fry, which is in the city at the Holy Trinity Serbian Orthodox Church. On the 27th of February, we'll be in Cottleville. On March 6th, we had a bit of a cancellation. So if anyone wants to lobby for a fish fry, we have to find a new location for March 6th. Something happened there. A little bit of a logistics problem. The 13th of March, St. Mary Magdalene in Brentwood. March 20th, Queen of All Saints in Oakville. March 27th, Ott's Tavern and Fish Stand in Millstock. And that reminded me that you guys had those delicious burgers last night, and I was going to bring one home, and I completely forgot to bring it home.
That is a bummer.
And I didn't even remember until just a few minutes ago. But there's some good
Where
news.
is it?
Ethan gifted it.
I did. I gifted it to Kyle, one of the board operators down at KMOX, and he texted me later that night and was really appreciative.
Well,
He said it was really good.
Honestly, I'm glad. I'm disappointed that I forgot it because it's on me, but I'm glad that it wasn't wasted.
Well, I'm glad that I ate one because obviously they were amazing, but I tell you what, my level of motivation after eating it, I ate them probably at 4:30 or so. I usually get out of here like a little bit after 6. I don't think I left till 6:45 because I was just dragging so much. I was like, oh, I'm so
Weighed
full.
you
It
down.
filled me up.
And I can't believe that I forgot it. I really couldn't. And then I just spaced it out.
Well,
I couldn't
the
even,
good
by the way, I
news-
couldn't even tell you what I ate for dinner last night. That's how my memory
The
is.
good news is that we'll be back there, and you'll be able to have
No,
one
I know. That's
at
gonna
the
be
end
great.
of March.
That is going to be great. And there's nothing that prevents me from going out there before that.
It's
either.
true.
So I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and for those people who are Mizzou fans and you missed the game last night, it was a hell of a game. One of the best games I've seen, even under Coach Gates, period. They played Texas A&M, who was favored. They're one of the best teams in the SEC, and from the get-go, it was a battle, back and forth and back and forth. And, Mizzou was only 5 behind at the half, despite 9 3-pointers from A&M. And by the way, Ethan, you might remember this, but A&M crushed us at home in a last kind of second play last year, and I was at that game, and it was tough because it was when
game
Mizzou
you
was
were at,
playing really
right,
well.
yeah.
Right? But listen to this. This is kind of, I just wanted to brag on the team a little bit because that was a road victory that was uber important when it comes to the NCAA tournament. It really is.
It was worth it for the last minute alone. That last minute was amazing.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
But check this out, Ethan. I don't know if you've heard about this. The Big 12 Conference will play its men's and women's basketball tournaments on a high-tech glass floor embedded with LED technology that will allow the conference to feature data-driven graphics, advertising, here we go, and even games for fans during timeouts. Okay, so apparently they've used these, or at least something like this, at the All-Star Game last year in Indianapolis. Also in Europe, the company is ASB Glass Floor, and they, along with the Big 12, said that the March tournaments, this is in Kansas City, by the way, where they have the Big 12 tournament, it will be the first time that official competitions in the U.S. will be played on one. They have, on the ESPN story, they kind of have an image of what it's going to look like. And, you know, quite honestly, when you see it, it looks so cool, and the technology we know has been there. It's probably going to be something that is real easy to adapt to. The one thing that I have complaints about, Sue, look at it real quick. See how they're kind of showing the, you guys can see, they're showing the Big 12 logo, but I'll show you what they do. Then they show kind of the team's logos over the floor, and if it's, well, whatever, KU or whoever's in the Big 12, now they stop doing it.
That's kind of cool, isn't it?
I'll tweet this out. Here. This is on Instagram, so let's see if I can just press that again. Well, I can't. It doesn't matter, and this is radio anyway. The point of the story is it actually looks kind of cool. It doesn't look like it's going to be something that'll be distracting. Now, on the other hand, part of the problem is that this is another way for them to work in advertising, right?
Yeah.
You have ads that are on jerseys now. We know Major League Baseball has opened up a lot more advertisement. So here's what Bill Self says, who's the KU coach. He goes, I'm an old school guy, but this has me thinking of new school ways, and from what I've seen and heard, this is the wave of the future. So they have an aluminum and steel spring action design that allows them to mimic the flexibility of a hardwood floor. So the floor is different, right? So it's an LED panel that has ceramic coating with dots that are etched into the glass for grip and consistent surface without dead spots or other quirks that can apparently occur with natural wood.
Interesting.
They said, Baylor women's coach Nikki Collins said that our team had the opportunity to practice on it back in November. It was an incredible experience. The court is not only visually impressive, but it plays and represents where our sport is headed. So I don't know what that means exactly, but it's just using the technology, and it does look pretty cool based on the image that they put here on the ESPN story.
So is this a court that will be permanently there doing that?
I don't think so because they don't have a regular team that plays in that arena.
All of these courts are, I imagine that it's probably in panels that you.
Yeah.
Okay. Similar to, the Jumbotrons, that they're all just little individual panels. It's probably something like that.
Okay, but this raises a question. Remember, and I don't remember the number, but a few weeks ago I pointed out that they were replacing the floor at Mizzou Arena, right? And the number was pretty high.
It's like 800,000.
Yeah, so I wonder, why would you replace a floor? I don't know what the price is, but wouldn't you think that if you're replacing a floor in this era and something like this is available, you may look at that as maybe that's why it's so much money, because that's the new wave in the flooring in college sports. The thing that I don't like, and Fred, you watch enough, football and basketball, like Boise State comes to mind with that weird blue field, but even some of the basketball teams have gone to real strange, court designs. I thought, like, for example, if you were watching last night, A&M had a really cool court. They had a little darker wood inside, the key, and then outside the three-point line, the wood was lighter. But there are some schools out there, and maybe they look better in person when you're seeing the game, but on TV, they look awful. And it's actually, to the viewer, I think, distracting when you see some of these weird floors.
I don't think it's going to be very long before we see a lot of NBA teams, probably some college basketball teams have these as well. I'm curious if there's any regulations against using it or not. But you see now, even, and this has been going on for several years, some football stadiums, fields, and basketball courts, they have the projector from up above that's set up in the ceiling, and they can do different illustrations and things on the court. This is going to literally just be the court,
right?
Which is pretty cool. I'm curious how expensive it's going to be. Maybe Mizzou can use some of that money they're going to get from the new naming rights with the football stadium.
Yeah, that came out yesterday too. But you would think the difference is. With baseball, for example, you have behind home plate, there's a green screen where they change out the ads. But the fans in the stadium don't see that, right? But in this case, with this floor, if you're in the building at this arena and you're on TV also, you're going to see the same thing, and that's the way the technology is going to be used. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, some of this stuff is going to get crazy over the years. That's why we talked to George Rosenthal on Tuesdays with Tech Talk Tuesday, right?
So this is just for one event?
It's for the Big 12 tournament.
Big
but
12
again,
tournament.
it seems like something they're going to highlight, and they've been working on this for a while. And
it's the start of what's going to become
a selling point, right? Yep. Exactly.
Did I tell you I've got tickets to the East? Is it the NCAA East Finals at Madison Square Garden?
Wait a second.
Fred,
what is
awesome.
the world about this?
That's the week I'm in New York visiting my son Shane, and he got us tickets to go.
No way.
Best son ever.
great.
So that'll be the Elite Eight. That'll be the Elite Eight. That'll be the regional final for the East region, is what you're talking about.
That's incredible.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Oh, I'm excited for you.
We're pretty high up, but he says it's
Will you
great.
trade one of your sons for one of mine?
Oh,
Can we
don't
do
take it.
a-
Don't
and
take
a
it,
player
Fred.
to be
Don't
named
take
later?
it.
But let me ask this: which son was it?
Shane.
Okay, is he into sports or not?
Yeah,
He is.
Well, he's into basketball.
Okay, all right.
Because he's got a roommate that's big into the Pistons.
Okay.
So they're always going to Pistons Knicks games.
No, because my
That's
kids,
fun.
like
That's fun.
my joke with Aiden, he's the one who's the teacher in Chicago. He's about to turn 26 in a few weeks, the day before his sister turns 11. I always say, like on a Sunday, hey, I know you guys are getting ready to watch NFL, but if you have a chance, they don't pay attention to anything, like nothing sports related. I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to ask him this because I'm very curious if he's even watching the Olympics right now. And my son that's in Houston, a little bit more into basketball and pro basketball, which is weird. But, it's weird to me when people, and I know there's people listening out there right now, they probably don't watch Super Bowl, they don't watch sports. See, that's weird to me. To Fred and I and Ethan, it's very foreign. Sue, you watch enough sports too, but when someone's not interested in any sports whatsoever, it's interesting. When I used to ride a bike seriously, and I was never an elite cyclist, but I rode with a lot of elite cyclists.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, no, I trained with people who were far better than I on the Big Shark team. And, these are guys who were Cat 2 riders, not Cat 1 pros, but certainly they race in that division. And I stayed with them and I stayed in shape, and that was great. But here's the thing. When you're on a bike, you know this. You took a bike ride today. You talk to people for a long time. I'm on the bike for 4 hours sometimes.
You
get
seriously
to know,
do.
The people who rode bikes, like the more serious cyclists, they didn't follow any other sports. They and they really didn't even much follow professional cycling.
Well, that's
but there were a
interesting.
fair. I mean, this is anecdotal, right? It's not scientific, but it was interesting to me that a fair number. Now, I have closer friends that I rode with that are very much into sports. Don't get me wrong, but I was shocked by how many of the more eccentric cyclists. Everybody's got their differences. Didn't care about football or baseball or anything like that.
Wow, they're just into that.
Wow. Which I maybe more professional athletes are like that. Maybe even the Olympic athletes because they're focused or micro-focused on their events.
I think Olympics goes beyond sports, though. I think people will watch it.
Yes.
I
because
agree
it's
with
an
that,
event.
Fred.
Well, I think that was true in the past, but honestly, I said this yesterday. How much of an impression? Look, we can sit here. Ethan can't do this, but we can sit here, and I'm not good on my memories. But for the most part, I can tell you Dorothy Hamill and Mary Lou Retton and all these things. These were the Miracle Game. But you're not gonna be able to do that after in the post Michael Phelps era. I think I would say that. And then who was the female swimmer who was awesome?
Oh,
Katie
Ledecky.
Ledecky.
Katie Ledecky.
So, but now, who is that person? Right?
It's got to be,
We don't have that.
No.
And I think that's going to create less interest in these sports.
I think even to Apollo Ono, Shaun White. I mean, even remember from specifically 2008 because that's when Michael Phelps had his record-breaking Olympics in Beijing.
Amazing.
But I even remember London and maybe even Rio. There was Michael Phelps was still around. Some of those big names. But you're right. It doesn't feel like you have nearly as many of those superstar names that you once did competing in the Olympics.
Maybe we'll get that for the Summer Olympics here, which would be awesome. Sue's News coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident on westbound 44 past Barrie, and it's blocking the right lanes and the right shoulder. Traffic, of course, is jamming behind that. Back near Elm, 55 southbound, that slows, headed down toward Bates in the construction zone. We've got westbound 6440 with traffic from Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound is slowing at Big Bend, and that's jamming up southbound 170. Southbound 270, pockets of moderate volume. Page down through Doherty Ferry. Out west, 70, not that bad, little slow, Highway A through Wentzville. 64, a little bit of moderate volume approaching N out through the 70 split. No problems on the bridges downtown. We actually look good there. But northbound 255, north of Route 15, there is an accident, and that's causing a delay on that side of the river. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Doesn't it feel like you hear all the time, boy, I wish I would have learned that in school, or why do they not teach us this? And I think you could apply that to retirement because they tell you to save. I don't even know who they is, just the world or people that you know enough to save for retirement. But when you get closer to that, do you know or have a plan on how to make that money last through your retirement? Because you have to have that. How else can you know you're going to make it and have some sort of peace of mind? That's where financial and tax architects come in. They put on a class called Retirement Planning 101. It's practical. It's free. It's only 90 minutes one night at a college nearby. But you could kind of start to understand, oh, this is how taxes work in retirement. Oh, this is how Social Security works and when I should start. And you can see how they operate. And then you could decide if you want them to help. So call to go to a class, 314-888-5101, 314-888-5101. Sign up, go, and start feeling better about retirement.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis Roofing, Siding, and Gutter Systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit Triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists.
Hey, it's Annie, and I'm with my friend Stewie of Bagel Loan fame. Right now, Stewie people are looking for access to cash, and there are a few ways that you can tap into your home, the equity, to try to get access to that cash. But I want you to tell folks why they need to think about the Bagel Loan.
Well, Annie, I have a great story. We had a customer that went ahead and was driving to a bank to get a home equity line of credit, and this is a bad financial vehicle. The reason it's bad, it's an adjustable rate mortgage. You have a certain term of time that you can take the money out, and then after that, bam, you get hit with a higher rate. These rates can go up and down like a yo-yo. You pay interest only, and before you know it, you started with a certain balance, and guess what? You got the same balance 5 years later. Be smart, refinance the house, take the cash out you need to consolidate the debt, do your home improvements, maybe go on vacation, do what you got to do, but do it with a 30-year or 20-year fixed rate. You'll be way ahead of the game.
And with the Bagel Loan, you pay no dollars in closing costs. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan. NMLS number 226715.
License number GL2500615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Two sounds that can wreck your sleep. A drip and a toilet that won't stop running.
Drip, drip, all night.
Good news. We're doing plumbing now. Same folks, same care, same we do it right.
Leaky faucet, running toilet.
Or a stubborn clog, call Grasser.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Hey, what's up, flies? This is David Spade.
Dana Carvey.
Look, I know we never actually left, but I'll just say it. We are back with another season of Fly on the Wall.
Every episode, including ones with guests, will now be on video. Every Thursday, you'll hear us and see us chatting with big-name celebrities.
And every Monday, you're stuck with just me and Dana. We react to news, what's trending, viral clips.
Follow and listen to Fly on the Wall everywhere you get your podcasts.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Peter Kinder, the former lieutenant governor of Missouri, is the chair of the state GOP, is going to join us at 4:32. But before that, we got to do this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, happy National Plum Pudding Day to both of you. I looked that up, and AI said to me, would you like me to find you a recipe for plum pudding? And I thought, maybe I should have. But it
No.
sounds
I'm gonna
sugary.
say-
No? Oh.
I don't know if I've ever had that before, though.
I think it sounds, well, not pudding maybe, but a plum cake I can eat.
You know what's funny is I don't even remember the last time I actually had a plum, and I like plums.
I like plums too. I don't like the skin. It tends to be
Yeah.
bitter.
Yeah.
But if you get to the inside, Fred, your opinion on a plum.
Yeah, I kind of avoid plums.
I'm not exactly sure I like the word plum now that we're saying it over and over either. I'm just telling you.
All right, fine. And it's also National Lost Penny Day. And I'm wondering if people are collecting these things. I had an experience that my first time at a store where they said, we don't deal in pennies.
Yeah, I think the QT is like that now, too.
I think Wendy's now rounds up or rounds down.
Right.
They won't take
Really?
pennies.
Do they round up or down? I mean,
I guess it depends on where it is.
Yeah. What if it's 2 cents? Do they go up?
I think if they have to
a
go
good
down.
question.
If it's
You know?
2 cents. If it's 3 cents and up, they go up.
That's interesting. Well, that was the first time that happened. And I saw a penny in the garage the other day, and I thought, am I supposed to, can I pick that up? Is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe it is now that they don't make them anymore.
Okay, but you're supposed to pick it up for good luck.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Okay.
that. All right, I'll go back and get it. On this day
'Cause that's
in
guaranteed,
history.
you know that.
Yeah, that's true. You're 100% right. This has some music, Mark. 54 years ago today in 1972, I love him. Al Green's Let's Stay Together. Oh, you not have it?
I do not. No.
Oh, is it
Unless-
because we had...
I think it's because Ethan was
Yeah.
working on the other show.
Oh, bummer.
I don't
should have
have.
sent
I don't
that
have
to-
anything actually.
We got nothing?
I have no Suze News audio.
You know what's sad? I
what-
had
yeah.
multiple things.
Okay.
I had like 3.
Was it your best show ever?
It
Well,
was
who
my
did you- who
best
did you
show
send it
ever,
to?
Fred. Ethan.
Okay.
But he had to run the board.
I know, but
Oh.
you should have forwarded it.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. Picture it in your mind.
He's probably scrambling right now.
In 1972, Al Green's Let's Stay Together hit #1, and I love that so much. It knocked out American Pie by Don McLean, which I don't love, but I understand people.
How can you not like that?
See,
I mean,
that's
I know
what
it's
Most
overplayed and
people
everything,
love
but
it.
it's a
forever.
classic
I
song.
love it.
I just don't care. And then Al Green.
Why do you hate America? Why do you hate American Pie, Sue?
I just don't like that song. And then Al Green was only on top for 1 week because I had this song too, so picture it when I say it. Harry Nilsson would take over with his smash Without You. I can't live if living. Yeah, that one.
That was pretty good though. You started
Sorry,
off good. I'm not
I can't
going to sing. I cannot
can't
sing.
sing. But that's there. And then 9 years ago, I had this one too. In 2017.
It's really good audio medium here
Oh,
this
my
afternoon. You might as well have a
gosh.
TV screen in front of you.
Grammy winner Al Jarreau passed away at 76, and he did moonlighting. He did the moonlighting theme. Remember him walking off the elevator, if
Oh,
you
yeah.
ever saw the video. And we're in this love together. I actually met him once, and he's kind of an odd dude, but very, very nice.
Seemed to always be very classy.
Yes, and I really liked him, and here he would have sang for us all.
What made him odd?
I think he went to the beat of his own drummer. Do you know what I mean? You could just tell that he wasn't particularly. He was kind of in his own Al Green.
Look,
his Al Jarreau world.
Let me tell you something, Fred. Musicians, they're weird. They're
Are-
it's
yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're
Are-
weird.
are
They're not
all of them?
not all in a bad way. Not
Yeah.
all of them, but most of them are. I think that kind of makes them their creative types.
Yeah, that
I'm
could
not
be.
criticizing, but I know enough musicians, and there's a lot of eccentric behavior, etc.
Huh? Okay. Well,
Politicians are the same way.
Good. Yeah. Well,
There's very
that.
few
That's
normal
true.
ones. Eric Schmick, one of the few normal ones.
That's why he's so great, because you can actually.
I agree.
You know.
I agree.
Well, if you've been Googling stuff about the Winter Olympics, you're not alone, because according to Google, these 5 questions have been trending this week. Okay.
Is Breezy Johnson bisexual?
You know what? Surprisingly, that's not one of them.
Oh, she already answered
yeah,
that.
Yeah. How is curling scored? Thank you.
I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've watched enough curling over my life. I still couldn't tell you how it's scored.
Okay,
And I've even
thanks.
done it.
Okay, it's basically bocce on ice. Only one team scores each round. The closest stone to the center gets a point. If you have 2 closest stones, it's 2 points. 3 closest, 3 points.
I was watching last night, and the Americans were doing pretty well. And there's a lot of strategy. They have them mic'd up. They're looking at,
Whoa.
how they're going to kind of work that stone into the right position.
Whoa.
Love it.
Were you good at it? Or was it just a one-shot?
It was
Here's
a
how
one,
you
it was
do
a one-shot deal with
That's
a club
fair.
in Milwaukee, and I'm not good at anything athletic, so that should tell you something right there.
What? You play pickleball.
Well, that's maybe the only thing I'm good at, racquetball and pickleball at this
And you
point.
ride a bike, or can.
Barely.
Okay.
That's been a while.
And how fast do snowboarders go in big air? It's the event with a steep hill and one ramp at the bottom. Answer, up to 50 miles an hour. How do you steer in luge? Mostly with your calves, shoulders, and by shifting your weight around. That freaks me out. I don't think I would enjoy this. The sleds have handles, but they don't really steer. They just anchor you so that you can make those tiny movements. See, Fred, it's educational.
It is.
Hey, I have something for you here today. Ready?
Yeah.
Just to throw in, just while we're doing something. How about this? There he is. And you know what I'm going to do just for you today, Sue? I'm going to throw in a little Harry Nilsson. And you know what else I got?
No one.
I got Al Jarreau.
Oh.
See how smooth and silky this is?
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. So there you go. Ethan got him in.
Thanks, Ethan.
10 minutes too late, but you know
Well,
what?
that's
A for
just-
effort, right?
A for effort.
It's not his fault. He was
No, he
torn
got
in different
called in.
directions today, right? It's Brad's fault. That's who it is. Blame Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thank you, Brad, for screwing up our show.
And number 2, why do speed skaters wear glasses? Well, that's mainly to protect their eyes from the wind and ice chips. By the way, they're going 35 miles an hour.
Why would anyone question why they would wear goggles
I don't
or
know.
glasses?
People have not skated. And also, why do ice skaters wear gloves? Because their hands are cold and such. Okay. So I'm worried about people, but that's what's happening. Okay, a few Hollywood tidbits. Forbes says that Disney lost $170 million on last year's Snow White remake.
Oh, I
Holy
believe it.
cow.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt's F1 is getting a sequel. And Nicole Kidman, they've released a trailer. She's got a new Amazon show called Scarpetta, which will be 8 episodes beginning March 11th. She plays Dr. Kay Scarpetta, and Jamie Lee Curtis is in this. And she is a forensic pathologist from a series of books that I used to read by Patricia Cornwell, until it got too detailed about, body stuff of how they're doing autopsies. And finally, in Sue's news, we have today's random fact. Instant replay started at the 1960 Winter Olympics in Squaw Valley. Judges asked CBS if they could review the tape of the event to see if a skier had missed a skate on the slalom, and that gave CBS the idea to show replays.
That is so weird.
Isn't that crazy?
Why wouldn't it have been something you would have thought of before that? But there it is, a random fact, and a little Al Jarreau.
Together, we got the time that will last forever.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. DraftKings beat on quarterly numbers, but forward guidance was below estimates. Earnings per share at 25 cents and revenue at $1.99 billion both beat. But monthly unique players at 4.8 million came in lower than expected, and fiscal year guidance was below estimates as well. It did note, though, that its Super Bowl betting volume was up 42% year over year. Airbnb's latest quarterly revenue surpassed Wall Street estimates. The total of $2.78 billion was a 12% increase year over year, and revenue for the current quarter is projected to be better than expected as well. It also reported almost 122 million nights and seats booked in the fourth quarter, which is up 10% from the same period a year ago. Wall Street was lower across the board today. Dow Industrials lost 669 points, ending the day at 49,452. NASDAQ off 469, S&P 500 down 108. That's Your Money Now.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
You know, there's a great video up on bannerconstruction.com. If you press the tab that says James Hardie Fiber Cement Siding, and you'll see a list of the benefits, how it compares to other materials, the types of products, and why you should hire an elite preferred James Hardie contractor. That's Banner Construction, but they have an awesome video that's a bit of a flyover. You can see what a home looked like before and after. Fiber Cement Siding is simply a blend of cement, sand, and cellulose. It looks like natural wood, but it's a lot more durable, and you don't have a lot of maintenance. So it's a great product. The colors and the styles that this product comes in really are amazing. That's why you need a great contractor and a great team like Banner Construction here. And then they will teach you everything about that, Hardie siding and how to maintain it and make your home look great. They can also help you with beautiful pellet replacement windows as well. Get with Banner Construction today. Do me a huge favor. Tell them that I sent you over. The website is bannerconstruction.com. Click on that Hardie tab. You'll learn a lot. And then also 569-1050 for Banner Construction.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Drury Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Drury Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems, call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis, at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Freedom has a frequency. 97.1 FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
That's some weird stuff that's still happening with the Nancy Guthrie search. They even put like a white tent around her front door earlier today, and then they pulled that down. They allegedly may have found at least one of the gloves involved. It's all bizarre, but, no suspect, no arrest. Phil Holloway's out there in Tucson. He is the host of the Megyn Kelly True Crime Show, and he's going to join us in the next hour for a brief update on that. I mean, we're getting to the point where what the hell is going on here? Peter Kinder is back with us this afternoon. He's the former lieutenant governor of Missouri. Peter, how are you? It's been a little bit since we've caught up. I hope all is well.
Doing great, Mark. Thank you.
You are the current chair of the Missouri Republican Party, and I just had Jen Bukowski on a couple of days ago. You got a big Lincoln Days gathering coming up next weekend, don't you?
We do. 21st, 22nd of February, next weekend in Springfield, Missouri. It rotates Springfield, Kansas City, and St. Louis, and was in St. Louis last year. So we'll be in Springfield, and we have some great speakers coming. Senator Eric Schmidt will be there. Senator Hawley will be there. We have a Saturday night keynote addressed by Senator Mark Wayne Mullen.
Nice, from Oklahoma. I like him.
Neighboring Oklahoma. And we're excited to have landed him. All our statewide elected officials are expected there. And, of course, many members of the House and Senate and rank-and-file Republicans from across the state. We encourage everyone to come. It is at the Oasis Hotel and Convention Center, which is just off I-44 in Springfield. And we'll have several hundred Republicans raising the party faithful that weekend.
Not that we always haven't had folks from Missouri that have gotten a lot of national attention. Certainly Senator McCaskill did as a Democrat. But, man, Peter, you look at our roster right now, not only the statewide elected officials, but Senator Hawley and Senator Schmidt, the attention that they get, the access to the president that they have, the ability to explain some of these issues from more of a Midwest sensibility perspective, I think is awesome. So we're doing pretty good here with our folks in Missouri, I'd say.
We think we are. And that would go for members of Congress as well.
I would agree. All right, let's talk about ibogaine. This is something that I've discussed before. I read this amazing op-ed piece by former Texas Governor Perry in the Washington Post last year, and I quickly tried to find out a little bit more, and my understanding is that you're involved in the ibogaine effort as well, Peter Kinder.
I am, and I've come up the learning curve in the last year on this. It's a word, ibogaine, I did not know a year ago. Ibogaine is a plant-derived psychedelic treatment drug regimen, and it hails from Africa. It derives from a plant that grows mostly in Sierra Leone, Africa, where they have used it for medicinal and therapeutic purposes for eons. It is very new, relatively, of course, to this country. I was invited by a friend to attend a national meeting on promoting ibogaine as a drug that has shown enormous promise in treating PTSD,
right?
In treating opioid addiction, which has been a terrible scourge for our country and for our state, in treating addiction problems, including painkillers, not just painkillers, but alcohol and drug addiction problems. And at this meeting, my friend Governor Perry was there, and we renewed an acquaintance that I had with him close to 15 years ago when he was in office. He was the longest-serving governor in the history of the state of Texas, something like 14 years before becoming Energy Secretary in Trump's first term. But Governor Perry is a leading national spokesman for this, and Mark, it is very much a bipartisan effort because also at that meeting was former Arizona Senator Kirsten Jill. Help me out, her name. She's the one who got in trouble with No, that's from New York. Sinema.
Kirsten Sinema, yeah. Kirsten Sinema, yeah.
I got my Kirstens mixed up for a minute. Kirsten Sinema, who was basically a very independent Democrat, who, when the pressure was on to eliminate the filibuster, when the Democrats had a slim majority under Biden, she and Joe Manchin, a former senator from West Virginia, both refused to eliminate the filibuster. So anyway, Kirsten Sinema was there with Governor Perry and me and several hundred other people. There were former NFL players who suffered TBI,
right,
traumatic brain injury, and were on the point of suicide because no treatment had worked. And then they tried ibogaine, this brand new word to so many of us, and it worked a miracle for them. Governor Perry has taken the treatment, and what we want to do is build on a very promising study that came out of Stanford University, but really was sort of the beginning of the trial studies we need, that showed that ibogaine has great promise for all these ailments, PTSD of warfighters. There were Navy SEALs at this meeting who also said they were on the verge of suicide. Their marriages were about to break up. Guy said, my wife told me I'm going to have to take the kids and leave you if things don't change. And they tried ibogaine, and it was, I hesitate to use the word miracle, but its results were stark.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I found out. That's why I'm interested in, and I support this research. So what are you trying to do in Missouri? Because what Governor Perry did is he got the state of Texas to allocate a lot of money for some research along these lines, right?
Right. Now, what they did, which was amazing to accomplish in 1 year, because I can tell you, usually there's a learning curve. You got to bring anybody up the learning curve, including lawmakers, and you got to acclimate them to a new subject. But in 1 year, they passed the bill, and Mark, in Texas, what the bill did was it said that the state will allocate $50 million to ibogaine clinical trials to get them kick-started. And that will be matched, the bill said, by $50 million in private fundraising, which they have done in Texas. So they've kick-started these trials with $100 million there in Texas. Our proposal, and there is a bill introduced in both chambers, Representative Richard West from St. Charles County is the sponsor of the House bill, and there will be a hearing on Monday at 4:30, this coming Monday, the 16th. On his bill. And the bill says we need $30 million from the state of Missouri to be matched again, dollar for dollar, $30 million in private fundraising to get some clinical trials started in Missouri. Now, you say, well, the the state budget situation is very tight, and we know it is. But the state also has received in the opioid settlement, the national opioid settlement, $940 million. And that money is allocated, and we're asking for a tiny fraction of that, a tiny slice of that, to address this very problem.
Yeah, look, some of this stuff is so fascinating. In the New York Times story that they did about Governor Perry last year, they talked about how he, underwent. And by the way, when he wrote that op-ed, I don't think he admitted that he had had the treatment. But he went in 2023. He learned about this trial. He has to go to Mexico. There's an MRI before he leaves that shows evidence of slight brain atrophy, which is not uncommon. He's 73 years old. 6 months after Ibogaine, there's another brain scan. It shows that all of that had vanished. And there's a guy that's quoted, Dr. Charles Gordon, who's a Texas neurosurgeon, who, by the way, very skeptical of these type of treatments, viewed the results and said, you have the brain of a 40-year-old. So some of this stuff is really unbelievable. Now, I know, and I want to mention this too, because I know I don't like to necessarily promote podcasts, but I know how popular Joe Rogan is. And Governor Perry went on Joe Rogan's podcast earlier this month with Brian Hubbard, who's another guy that's leading the charge on this. So if you're looking for more of an in-depth, discussion on this, and I know there's a lot of Rogan fans out there, you can find that on his podcast. But I love the momentum here, Peter, and I love that folks like you are, open-minded. A lot of Republicans are to these new treatments because they've seen how they've worked.
That would be great, Mark. And let me just tell you, I have been around a while, and I was in state government for 24 years, and I've been to a lot of national meetings, and I would put myself in the category of those who are not easily impressed by speakers.
Right.
You just mentioned the name Brian Hubbard. This guy is from Kentucky, speaks with a wonderful Kentucky accent that I love to hear. And he is one of the most impressive speakers I've ever heard. He has a passion for this issue. In the last month, he went to Sierra Leone for like 3 weeks. He at our meeting in Aspen in November, he had 4 folks there from Sierra Leone, including their ambassador to America. He has dug deep into this, and you're right, that would be a great resource on the Rogan podcast.
And I have had Brian. He's a character. I had Brian on. We were trying to get Governor Perry at the time, but I did have Brian on, and it was an amazing conversation. And you're not kidding about the accent. There's no doubt about that. Well, listen, Peter, I hope all is well with you, and you're obviously rocking and rolling with the state GOP. Big Lincoln Days next week, and things with Governor Kehoe. Does he have an opinion on this issue? Do you know?
Oh, we think we're going to bring him on board. He knows Governor Perry.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get them together. And I want you to know that another national meeting I was at recently, just last month, I saw your old friend Scott Jennings, and I mentioned the name Mark Reardon, and he just lit up.
Well, he's a great guy. He's been a big part of my show, but he's a big star now. So, I have to deal with that as well. But that's awesome. Hey, Peter, thank you. Keep me posted on this because it is something I'm genuinely interested in. All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident on the Illinois side on northbound 255 between 15 and 64. So right in between there, and that's created a delay. Also, eastbound 64, pretty slow between 255 and 159. Now back on the Missouri side, southbound 55 slowing south of Arsenal. Down past Bates. We've got 40 lined up approaching Kings Highway, and that's in pockets all the way out to an accident past Clarkson. And this thing has caused a real jam back almost to Timberlake Manor. Then you get a break and things slow again out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 70 westbound. It's moderate volume here and there between Jennings Station Road and looks like Highway A before it's better. Southbound 270, slow pockets. This is approaching Olive. Down through Doherty Ferry, southbound 170, slow at 64. We look good on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All this week, The Mark Reardon Show has your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Kid Rock Freedom 250 Tour at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater on May 15th. Free tickets. The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Yep, we have tickets to give away a little bit later this hour as well, so stay tuned for that, and I think we have another pair tomorrow. Hey, there's some things going on at the Missouri Athletic Club that I want you to be aware of, and I think one of the biggest ones is not next Wednesday. I think that would be 2 Wednesdays. I've got to make sure that I'm right on the calendar here. It's the 25th, so that would be 2 weeks from yesterday. Alberto Muslim, who is the president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank here in St. Louis, will be at the downtown clubhouse to talk about the Fed and the St. Louis area, recent economic trends. I mean, this is perfectly timed. We have a new Fed chair that's going to take over. There is a registration for this that is available right now. You can do that on the app, but I think that's going to be something that I'm going to have to attend as well. We might learn something there from him on that day. So, that's just one example of some great things that they have going on at the Missouri Athletic Club from week to week. There is always something going on, and if you're interested, obviously, in some of the fitness programs, or with my daughter, there's youth programs as well, and they do really cool things to keep the kids busy and all of that stuff. And then we also pick charities out every year, and we take care of some children's charities here in St. Louis. You can find out more at mac-stl.org.
I'm Dan Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Last year, millions of people called us for representation. Why? Because trust grows when you win, and we've won a lot. Over $30 billion and counting. When you call America's largest injury law firm, you're calling a family. You're calling an army, our army. You're calling somebody who will fight for you. Injured? Let our family fight for your family. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Straight Realty has always been an industry leader when it comes to commissions. So it should come as no surprise that the recent Realtor settlement has only empowered us to continue offering our sellers even better rates. We now list homes for only 2%. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Call me, 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Hi, it's Mark Cox inviting you to join me September 30th as we discover the charm of Switzerland, Austria, and Germany with Colette Travel. Spend 4 nights in Bern and then 4 nights at the foot of the Alps in Innsbruck. From the cobblestone streets to the postcard-worthy mountain landscapes of the amazing Alps, we're going to explore the Swiss capital of Bern and lovely Lucerne, the Swiss paradise on the lake. We'll travel the Austrian countryside to Salzburg with a visit to Mozart's birthplace, and then Mirabelle Gardens featured in The Sound of Music. This and so much more. Colette handles all the details. The flights, the meals, the hotels, the local experiences. All you have to do is have the time of your life. Don't miss this trip. Meet me and the folks from Colette to learn more at the Lodge at De Pere, Tuesday, February 24th at 2 p.m. Call Colette at 800-581-8942 or go to 971talk.com/events for details.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Our Hall of Fame producer, Fred, is also, he has lots of titles down the hall on the KMOX side of the building. Religion editor is one of them, right?
That's right, yeah.
That's one of them. Did you hear what Pope Leo said about ketchup on hot dogs?
No, I didn't.
No, Sue, I'm disappointed. You might be a big fan of this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
He was asked about this. Check this out.
God bless you. In Chicago, you've had more hot dogs than any pope in history.
God bless you.
Only with mustard. Mustard and cream to the rosaries. Thank you, Pope Leo. All right.
Thank you, Pope Leo. Yeah, only with mustard. Look at that. That's a really. I don't agree with that position with the Pope, but I respect the fact that you can ask a Pope in this day and age that question and he can answer it, right?
Yes,
I love that.
Exactly.
I thought that was great.
He's from Chicago. He knows better. He's
Exactly.
not 5 years old.
So it's White Sox and hot dogs with mustard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's that's kind of a Chicago thing for sure.
Should be.
I still like the ketchup. What can
Oh
I say?
my gosh.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about you a couple weeks ago. I was at a restaurant. We did infamously. Sue likes to bring this up because I like Heinz ketchup and I'm loyal to Heinz ketchup. But remarkably, when we did a taste test in the room, I like Hunt's better, right?
Yes.
So I was at, I don't even know what restaurant that was at, but they had it. What would be a different brand? Is there like a third brand?
Not a major one.
It wasn't like generic, but it was.
Brooks. How about Brooks?
I don't know. Whatever it was kind of good. I liked it, so I'm like, well, maybe I should try that.
It doesn't matter because you won't buy it. You're still going to buy Heinz.
Yeah, I'm kind of loyal. It's just brand loyalty.
It's kind of crazy.
So let me talk a little bit about the media here and our friends at CBS News, because they have undergone some changes, obviously, with Barry Weiss taking over, and there are people that are happy and there are people that are not happy, right, about this. So if I can get my damn iPad to work this afternoon, that's one thing that I'm having trouble with. But there was a story, and there are stories this afternoon from multiple publications about one of the executive producers at the CBS Evening News who is leaving because she doesn't like the direction that Barry Weiss is taking it. And they wrote about this in the Hollywood Reporter today. Oh, I know, right? Because she's actually trying to have balance
she wants
in
balance.
a newsroom. And it's just hilarious because I guess what they reported, this is so frustrating, guys, that I can't get this stuff to come up. Sue knows this. I'm on the cusp of having to probably just
erase the
restart
whole thing.
my iPad altogether.
What's it doing now? It won't come up at all?
It ain't coming up. Like nothing's coming up on it, and it's pissing me off is what I can say right now, because then I can't relate the entire story. You know what happens every once in a while if you just turn it on airplane mode real quick and then, boom, turn it off, it grabs a different cell. I don't know what it does, but sometimes that works. So let's see here if that'll work, because the numbers in here are what I really wanted to share with people. They had like 11 people, I guess, at CBS who have taken buyouts. That's certainly an option, I guess, that people are looking at. But the best part of it, which apparently I'm not going to be able to share with you, is the reasoning that this woman is leaving. And what she says is she takes issue with the ideological path that the newsroom is taking under Barry Weiss, when the ideological path that they've been on for all this time has been forcing the left-wing agenda down people's throats. And look, we have very personal, very specific examples of some of this from St. Louis with Bill Whitaker and Jeff Pegues, a former CBS reporter. But I sent this to John Ziegler, who is the co-host of the Death of Journalism podcast, and he had missed this, and I wanted him to see it, because when you read the actual article, which I really apologize for, I'm sitting here hoping for something to refresh, and I can't get the damn story to come up. It's incredible, the lack of awareness, I think I would say. The lack of awareness of what your role as a producer of the CBS Evening News or any product on CBS really should be. But I'm telling you, these people are coming out of my journalism school, and they think that it's their role to, tell people only what they think is right and what they should be exposed to, and to have agenda journalism. And it's ridiculous.
Was she able to say that without saying it, or did she just outright say, yes, we should be helping with the truth of the left? I mean, how was it worded?
She ripped it. Well, I wish I could tell you that. She ripped the shifting ideological expectations, right? So
but there aren't any. You're supposed to be reporting the news.
Thank you, Sue. That's exactly why I wanted to bring this up, and it finally came up. She says, our industry has changed more in the last decade than in the last 150 years, and the transformation isn't over yet. Far from it. Oh, that's what Barry said at the meeting, right? Because remember, when she took over at CBS News, she was kind of giving the big speech, and she had a town hall meeting, and she wanted to make sure that CBS would be, something that would, be an interesting product for people, right? So they say in this story, 11 people have taken buyouts. Alicia Hasty is this person who, in her goodbye letter, said there's been a sweeping new vision prioritizing a break from traditional broadcast norms to embrace what has been described as heterodox journalism. The truth is that commitment to those people and the stories that they have to tell is increasingly becoming impossible. Stories may instead be evaluated not on their journalistic merit, but on whether they conform to it. This is my favorite part, to a shifting set of ideological expectations. You mean like calling women men and vice versa? You think what you guys have been doing in the legacy media on the gender issue hasn't been a shift of ideological expectations? You've shoved all this crap down our throats for years, and now you're worried because you have someone coming in there and wants you to do your job fairly. It's utterly ridiculous, and I hope that the buyouts continue. In fact, I hope they don't buy them out. I hope they just fire people.
Why are you
because you have people that are
supposed to just quitting.
there's probably union contracts and stuff like that, Fred. You know how that works. But, fire away. Get new blood in there, someone who has to do actual journalism. So she thinks this is how narcissistic these people are. No one knows who this person is. She's behind the scenes. But I've warned you about this before. Those are the dangerous people. I still have a friend in New York City that I hope gets fired because he's a former friend because he treated me like crap. And he's insidious with the politics. You should see what's on Facebook. And, I'm sorry. They need a change of direction at CBS, and they're getting it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Let's take a look on the roads here. If you are westbound on 6440, it lines up approaching Hampton out through McCausland. It's slowing again, headed for 270. And there is an accident westbound as you approach Baxter Road, so headed into Chesterfield Valley, and that's created a huge jam behind it. Now, we also have some slow-moving traffic at Lake St. Louis Boulevard, but it's not bad. So if you have a choice, take 70. It's got some volume out there, mainly at Jennings Station Road and past the airport, moderate volume Cave Springs, and at Highway A. Now, southbound 270, moderate volume Page through Doherty Ferry, a little slow at Gravois, 55 slowing headed for Bates. Accident on the Illinois side, northbound 255 north of 15, that's causing delays. And eastbound 64 jams as you pass 157. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Midwest winters take a real toll on your garage door. Overhead Door Company can come out and perform their 26-point tune-up on your garage door and opener. Just one price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Schedule online, overheaddoorSTLouis.com. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I've been talking almost, I think, for a year about Game Day Men's Health here in St. Louis. They have 400-plus clinics, and they're still growing. And they have a fabulous new design on their website. Look, they call it a men's health clinic, but built for every journey. And whether it's testosterone therapy to boost energy or maybe medical weight loss or sexual wellness, hair loss, they have all kinds of options for you. Peptides have really blown up, and vitamins. And what is that all about? And are you getting accurate information out there on the interwebs? And I think Matt Lawrence at Game Day Men's Health in Chester will tell you, no. How about trust us? Because they're the industry-leading men's health and wellness experts here in the area and really across the country. And they are offering you this free consultation. It's an hour. There's no pressure, just clarity, education, and a clear path forward. If you make an appointment out in Chesterfield, right there at 6440 in Olive and Clarkson, 20 minutes later after that first blood's drawn, you're going to have results and a plan for action with Game Day Men's Health. Couple of locations. They're in O'Fallon. I'm partial to the one in Chesterfield. And online, GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Big trucks, big damage. And when you're the one left injured, you need someone who knows how to take on the trucking companies and win. You need Kaufman Townsley. Our attorneys live and work right here in St. Louis. We act fast, we dig deep, and we don't back down. Trucking accidents are serious, and so are we. Kaufman Townsley. Real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Kid Rock. A celebration 250 years in the making. Freedom 250 Tour. The Road to Nashville. Friday, May 15th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. With Parker McCollum. On sale Friday, 10 a.m. at LiveNation.com.
American Badass!
The ultimate American party. Kid Rock.
Zero Res wants to give your home the love and attention it deserves. Mark Cox here. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com and mention the 97.1 special.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley, St. Louis's injury lawyers studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Back of a key finding on climate change. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The regulation in place since 2009.
President Trump's Environmental Protection Agency is rescinding a 2009 declaration that greenhouse gases endanger public health.
This radical rule became the legal foundation for the Green New Scam. One of the greatest scams in history, probably.
President Trump says the action amounts to the single largest deregulation move in U.S. history and will drive down energy prices and the cost of a new car.
Perhaps no industry has benefited more from our historic deregulation campaign than the U.S. auto industry.
Already, environmental groups and some Democratic governors are planning legal challenges, saying both the science and the law are crystal clear.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. The Department of Homeland Security appears headed for a shutdown tomorrow after Republicans failed to get enough support to pass a measure that would continue to fund it. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says reforms to ICE need to be part of the bill.
Americans are watching what's happened in neighborhood after neighborhood across the country. They know it's wrong. They know it's excessive. And they want Congress, the Senate, to fix it.
But Majority Leader John Thune says that was already in the bill.
It was a bipartisan bill, had reforms in it. It had body cameras in it. It had de-escalation training in it. It had more oversight of ICE activities in it. These were reforms that the Democrats had requested, agreed to, and then walked away from.
Funding for FEMA, TSA, and the Coast Guard will be impacted, and the shutdown could last for a week and a half because Congress is in recess next week. Investigators in Arizona now asking people who live near Nancy Guthrie's home to share surveillance camera footage of suspicious cars or people in the month before she disappeared. The 84-year-old mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie has been missing for 12 days. America's listening to Fox News.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The official 97.1 FM Talk Weather Center forecast. Mostly cloudy today, the high of 55. Overcast tonight, chilly with the low down to 35. Mostly sunny, warmer Friday, a pleasant day with the high 63. Mostly cloudy and cooler Saturday with periods of rain in the afternoon, the high of 49. Warmer Sunday with clouds and sun, the high 63. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina for 97.1 FM Talk.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, I sit here in this studio downtown Park Pacific, right here at 13th and Olive, and I have my windows that face out to the west, and right now we have shades on the windows. Right now the sun is blaring through my windows right into my face, and I'm so happy about that because it's staying lighter longer and longer. Like when I leave at 6 o'clock, there's a little bit of light left. Not a lot, but there's a little. In about 30 more days, there's going to be a lot more. Sue's just walking back into the studio. So, Sue, I just mentioned that I have the sun glaring through the window here, and I'm thrilled that it is because
so awesome.
To have more light at night is so desperately needed. When do we probably don't spring ahead until
just going to
look that
up
up for me.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm guessing it might be April, or do we do that in March?
Hold on, I have
we
to
should know
type
these things. If the damn Congress would get to work and just fix this whole damn thing, we wouldn't have to worry about it, right?
March 8th.
Oh my gosh, that's Alexa's birthday.
Holy cow.
So that's less than 30
close,
days. See, that's good news. There you go. David Strom from hotair.com, associate editor, back with us from up in Minneapolis this afternoon. How are you, Mr. Strom?
I'm great. I mean, it's going to hit 50 this week.
Yeah.
Before it starts snowing again, certainly.
Should we tell David that it was like 72 here the other day?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Don't do that. Do not tell me that.
I know. But you know what's interesting is we had a pretty rough January. We had snow that until yesterday. Literally yesterday was about the last time we saw snow. There might be a little bit out there, but yeah, I see a little bit out there. But, most of it's melted. So our February has been really nice. But I'll tell you what, we tend to get a little ahead of ourselves here in St. Louis. And then what happens is March comes and we think it's going to be nice, and it's not as nice. So there's still time here to let this winter, express itself, if you will. But I want to talk about the SAVE Act.
I got to share this one
Okay,
fact,
yeah, go ahead.
Is my first year in Minnesota, when I came here for college, the last snow, and it was around 10 inches, was on April 29th.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Dave Murray would tell you that we've had April storms here before.
Yeah, we have.
I don't know that late, though. That's really late, for sure. You want to start with the SAVE Act here? Because I think you wrote about this. I mean, the same. Mr. Strom, I've been talking about voter ID for 3 decades. I'm sure you've been writing about it for that long. I can't believe, and what I offered at the beginning of the show is the perfect example why people shouldn't buy into this nonsense about Jim Crow 2.0. Larry David did an entire season of Curb Your Enthusiasm framed around lies about the Georgia election laws, right, which turned out to be fine. More people than ever voted. So the same stuff that they said about Georgia, they're saying now. How could you have any credibility on that?
Well, I don't think they're actually interested in being credible to the average person. The piece that I wrote today was satirical.
Yes.
Because, if you actually believed any of the things that they're saying, then every Democrat should be against ID cards for everything. Basically what they're saying is that since ID cards, driver's licenses or anything else are, racist and sexist, right now you need them to enter a lot of government buildings. You need them, obviously, to travel, whether by car or by airplane. I mean, you need them to get a bank account, and they've been talking about redlining and everything for decades. So you can't get a mortgage. You can't basically live in modern society these days without an ID. And now suddenly for voting, and only for voting, it is racist and sexist. I mean, they're literally saying women cannot get, 1/3 of women cannot get IDs.
Yeah. Yeah, we have.
And obviously they don't believe that. They're just reaching for something to tell left-wing people who are desperate to find a way to keep cheating.
It's utterly ridiculous. And they get away with it because all this stuff that gets spread on the legacy media, and they keep repeating the same lies that they, mentioned when we were talking about this Georgia law from a few years ago. I did love the fact that you embedded in your piece today, look at Nicki Minaj coming out as a hero for the right. And she goes, what sensible, forward-thinking, cutting-edge leading nation is having a debate on whether or not there should be voter ID? Like they're actually fighting not to have people present ID while voting for your leaders. Do you get it? Do you get it now? I'd say that Nikki's come a long way here in a very short time, hasn't she?
Yes, she has. Well, I'll tell you, one of the funniest things, this isn't Nicki Minaj, but one of the funniest things that I noticed a couple years ago is that in France, everybody votes by paper ballot. They're all hand counted, and they can produce a result within hours in a nation of tens of millions of people. And yet you've got entire U.S. states that have, all this technology and everything else that will take weeks, literally weeks to come up with a result. And, you look at that and either all these blue states are just sort of technologically backwards and can't count, or there's something really suspicious going on here. And I think we all intuitively understand what's going on here. The thing is, though, that there's just a vast number of Democrat voters who suspect that there's something wrong going on here, but they really, really don't want to know. so that they're grasping at straws. And so, when a Democratic politician, it's like any of these people believing that Adam Schiff is telling the truth,
Right.
Like everybody knows that that's wrong, but they desperately need something to hang on to.
It really is quite something. And I don't, I hope this is going to be one of those things that works out well for the Republicans. I don't know how the bill passes in the Senate because it doesn't seem to have enough support.
Yeah.
It did pass the House earlier today, but it's it's exhausting for me because I've talked about this for so long. I made the offer on my former station, KMOX, 12, 13 years ago. I said, bring me one person. I offered every Democrat in the city of St. Louis, bring me one person who can't vote because they don't have an ID. They could never do it. They could never bring me one person. So it's just a lame excuse. They're talking about rural people, like rural people are stupid and they can't get, IDs or cards to vote. It's unbelievable. Earlier this afternoon, David Strom, I had Bethany Mandel on talking about this Canada mass shooting with the male shooter that is being, portrayed in all of the legacy media as a woman. In fact, I read an AP account of this earlier, and they didn't even mention anything related to, the biological sex. I guess they don't think that's important, but it is important, David, isn't it? Because we have a bit of a pattern here with trans violence.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, let's face it, the news media is not at all interested in laying out facts, almost ever. Even if in stories, where they talk about this, it's going to be in paragraph 12 or 14, and every newspaper knows that, probably 60% of the people who see the story only see the headline. And then by the time you get down past paragraph 4 or 5, you're really talking to the, 2 or 3% of the people who saw anything about this story. What this is about is defining the terms. And when you define the terms, you define the boundaries of reality. And you know this because you've been in the business for, a few years.
A few.
You open up the AP style book and what it's doing first and foremost is not telling you where to put an apostrophe. It's how to frame reality.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. I mean, it's journalistic malpractice, and I can't believe that people go for it.
Yeah.
I read a little bit before you came on here at the top of the hour, in the last hour, the CBS producer who, took a buyout, I guess, from the evening news and is writing about Barry Weiss's, it's so funny, David, they're talking about an ideological transformation when they've been controlling the ideology of the newscast for all these decades in one direction. And now, not trying to go in the other direction, maybe just trying to bring it a little bit closer to the center. That's unacceptable. We can't do that, right? So take the buyout and be gone. Good riddance.
Yeah. Well, it's just hilarious because it's not like CBS News has become right wing, although they're all talking about it as if it's MAGA coded. That's the new word is MAGA coded. When in fact you watch CBS News stuff and conservatives are still screaming. It's like, Barry Weiss, what are you doing? All she's done is created this sort of ratchet a couple steps away from pure communism. And it has just created this panic on the left because what that means is they don't have absolute total control of the narrative. And that is so key to the left even surviving in the United States. Because if they lose control of the narrative, they really, they move back to being a 33% party, the Democrats. Yeah,
I want to kind of take this into the media bias situation with even what was happening up there in Minnesota, because you wrote about this, and I often talk about when it comes to media bias, I talk about the editing by omission, like leaving important parts out, like I don't know, maybe saying someone who is a woman is a man, right? Little things like that. But Liz Collins been a guest many times, and you highlighted a couple of the things that she pointed out in some of the missing context in some things that happened with ICE. So, for example, you got a guy who is facing first-degree drug charges because he had 50 pounds of meth meth. But the headlines in the Star Tribune and in a local TV station there talk about how federal agents are making a chaotic arrest, et cetera, right? They don't mention anything about the bad guy that's got all the meth. They just want to talk about what the agents are doing.
Well, and there were lawyers there who were trying to de-arrest him. I mean, it really is just remarkable. You have the media here. You have the Hennepin County attorney. You have some of her attorneys under her, plus the public defenders.
Yeah, the public defenders.
And they're trying to keep him away from ICE. And this is about as bad a guy. I mean, 50 pounds of methamphetamine. How many dead people does that represent? But to them, again, this is almost like a life or death situation for them, in some sort of spiritual sense. The bizarre portrayal of stories like that. And this is true throughout Operation Metro Surge. If you see in the media a description of something, you could basically assume that they have left out all the context. Bait Boy was the perfect example of that. For weeks, we've been told that that ICE captured a 5-year-old boy and used him as bait to get his father, when in fact the truth was his father ran away and left his son behind. And he did that in full confidence, by the way, that the federal agents would take care of him.
Right.
Right.
Right, of course.
And he abandons his son. And they treat the dad as a hero.
Yeah.
And ICE is the bad guys. It's just ridiculous.
Well, and then that even gets into the Bad Bunny show, where people are alleging that kid was part of the show and they hired an actor and it wasn't the same kid. By the way, I don't know that I've really talked about this at all today. We're talking about Minnesota and immigration, but Tom Homan had a pretty big announcement.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue to the next week.
And here's what he says will remain in Minneapolis.
A small footprint of personnel will remain for a period of time to close out and transition full command and control back to the field office, as well as to ensure agitator activity continues to decline, and that state and local law enforcement continue to respond to ensure officer and community safety.
So obviously ICE pulling out, things are quieting down, I'm guessing, out there. We haven't heard much. It's in a weird way, and I've said this, David, I don't know how you feel about this. We're in a period of the last 2 weeks because of Nancy Guthrie where the country's kind of together. We're kind of all on the same side on that issue. And a lot of the ICE stuff and other things from President Trump have quieted down. And it's kind of an interesting dynamic right now. But, maybe a good opportunity for Tom Homan and ICE to take a little bit of an exit up there.
Yeah, and he hasn't quite declared victory, but he's come very close, and with good reason. Suddenly, you've got local law enforcement is protecting ICE officers, and lo and behold, the violence has gone down. Who could have guessed? And they have gotten 4,000. Illegal immigrants, bad guys off the streets. Plus, they have found, I forget what the number was, but I think it was hundreds or thousands. I think it was thousands of the missing children that Biden let in the country and then just let disappear. And so, it's a remarkable success. And, they have not turned around Minnesota's sanctuary status, but boy, have they really done an amazing job of arm twisting these guys.
What will the professional protesters do without their paycheck and they can't protest up there, David Strom? Awesome to have you on. You have a great week. Have a great weekend. We'll talk soon, David.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the Illinois side, things are looking better, but 64 westbound is still lined up from 255 to a point east of 157. And that's because of road work. Now, on the Missouri side, we're fine on the bridges downtown if you're headed into Illinois. 64 westbound, slow pockets, Kings Highway, out through McCausland. It's slowing again at 270. And there was an accident past Clarkson on the right side that created a jam there that goes back through Timberlake Manor. Then some volume at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now, 70 is better. Moderate volume, Jennings Station Road and pockets on out. That's not bad. Southbound 270. Slow pockets approaching Olive through Doherty Ferry. A little bit of Gravois. 55 southbound is jammed as you head down toward Bates. Just in the construction zone there. Does that say 18? Well, all right. Hold on. Let me see if I have a spot.
I'm probably not the best person to look at little things on a page.
Okay,
with my
never
eyes.
mind. I'm Sue Thomas. Thanks for helping. And that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We had Stuart Rosenblum from Stewart's American Mortgage in here yesterday talking about some of the dynamics with mortgages and rates, et cetera. One thing that's awesome about Stewie is if you need to refi right now or if you're looking to buy a home, we're just going to give you his number right now. And a lot of people choose to text, which is understandable. 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. You don't have to wait in line somewhere or be on hold at customer service. You're going to know exactly who is helping you. That's the owner of the company. And that's going to help you because you pay less, you keep more of your money. We talk about the bagel loan. You've heard Annie talking about this for years. When I met Stewie, and I actually met him at our 97.1 FM Talk birthday party in the fall, I started asking him about what he did, and I found out because I had skepticism. When you refinance, how do you have no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees? Well, there's a reason for that, and that's because Stewie kind of runs the whole show over there. So even, he said this yesterday, if you've refinanced over 3 years ago, it's time to look at it again. Outstanding service. Stewie and his son Jordan handle all the loans, and here's another important part. Quick closes, as little as 10 days. That might help you out in a pinch as well. Google the bagel loan or call him at 314-324-4440, NMLS number 226175.
The ACA Marketplace has announced significant increases on their monthly premiums for 2026, with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Greg Hammond's Freedom of Choice plans now. You don't have to wait. One of their plans lets you use any doctor, has 0 outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower costs than most Obamacare plans. Other options are full coverage PPOs with national networks, copays, and 100% annual preventative care. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive. Call Greg and they'll provide all available options. Call 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
When it comes to lighting, Gray Bar goes beyond parts and products. We help contractors turn plans into smart designs, manage kitting and deliverables, and navigate local codes so you can stay on time and on budget. Smart, scalable, job site ready. That's not just lighting. That's like kicking your project into Gray Bar mode. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Oh, my goodness. Still no answers, no concrete answers in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. Phil Holloway, who is the host of the Megyn Kelly True Crime Show podcast, is with us from Tucson this afternoon. Phil, how are you?
I'm great, man. I'm on the ground here in Tucson, and let me tell you, the flurry of activity is dizzying.
Yeah, so what do you make? All right, let's start with the white tent thing today. What do you think that was all about? Do you know at this point?
So it looks like the tents came down almost as fast as it went up. They appeared to be doing something involving digital or forensic videography in there, and some of it looks like it's going to be designed to also get more precise height and maybe weight measurements for the suspect that we see at that doorbell camera.
So do you have any opinion on the black gloves that were found as well? I mean, I don't know that they know for sure that these were connected, but that's another odd piece. I guess you have to envision someone driving out of there and just throwing the gloves out of the window, which doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Or if they're on foot, taking the gloves off. And I always believe there's a vehicle involved, but of course, we don't know that. It could be possible that there's not. You know, this is a very unique terrain, and there's cacti and shrubs and stuff all along the sides of the road. And, you know, it would be very difficult for anybody who lives along the road. And I actually can see the spot from my hotel where they found the gloves, and there's houses along the side of that road. So it would be impossible to do any kind of gardening work without some type of protection for the hands. So it could be completely innocuous. On the other hand, they could hit a home run with that find, and then, you know, the next thing you know, they can start maybe getting DNA from it. So it could lead to closing the case, but right now we just don't know the full significance.
So what is your sense of what's going on right now? I mean, we still have reports of, you know, people at, or officials rather, at Annie Guthrie's house. Do you have any kind of sense? Is it like yesterday? Does there seem to be any kind of changing mood or tone?
Well, there's been a lot of activity in recent days. In fact, the FBI and the sheriffs were combing the area, and I would say it's probably a quarter to a half mile radius around Annie's house a couple of days ago. They were going in the yards of the neighbors, and they were looking for any items of evidence. So the investigation certainly is focused in, I'd say, two main areas. One, obviously, is Nancy's house, but the other big focus of the investigation physically and geographically is the Annie Guthrie house. So I guess they're over there for a reason. They're not sharing with us what that is, but they're not there by accident.
You know, I think it's kind of crazy, Phil. This is 1 week today that we have not had any briefings from the Sheriff's Department. It's been a week already. Now, they said last weekend they weren't going to have any until, you know, there were developments. But that's kind of stunning when you think about the timetable here. It's already been, you know, a week since any briefings.
Yeah, the sheriff's taken a lot of heat, though, for the way he's handled those briefings. And on the way out here, you know, I got media credentials through the sheriff's office before I came. And I sent an email from the plane asking if there's a sheriff or anyone who would be willing to talk to me, because what I wanted to do is sort of talk about the toll that it takes on investigators working, you know, 24/7 and that kind of thing on a major case like this. And I got back a fairly curt response saying that, you know, the sheriff is the sole spokesperson for this agency on this case, and he is not doing any interviews.
Wow. So, yeah. Well, and I know there was a little backlash, too. I didn't really cover this, but he had gone to the Arizona basketball game over the weekend and took a little grief over that as well, just because of the optics.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good when you got grieving family members looking for their mom and they think, you know, she could still be alive and the first few days are critical. And you see the guy who's supposedly leading the investigation, you know, taking some R&R, which, you know, look, we all need downtime, and I get it. But sometimes you got to be sensitive to others who might be looking at what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as, you know, the next steps in all this, I mean, it's really kind of hard to gauge because you have, in my mind, I have an image of a bunch of all these investigators, to your point, you know, working around the clock 24 hours, just looking for that one thing that's going to put them in the direction of this suspect.
I suspect that. I think he had a phone, and I think that the phone has left sort of a digital breadcrumbs along its route of travel to and from the location, and that's why you see the searches popping up where they did. They were out here at 2:15 in the morning local time here in Tucson this morning. Once again, about a half a mile from where I'm standing right now, and they were out there looking in the shrubs along the side of the road for something. I went back out there today and looked at it in the exact location in the daylight myself, and there's various items of roadside trash and things like that. And who knows why they went there? But it's you don't accidentally show up and start searching the cacti and the shrubbery at 2:15 in the morning unless you got a reason to.
I would say so. Then, I don't know. I said this earlier in the show, I'm becoming increasingly a little bit more uncomfortable with Harvey Levin and TMZ's involvement in all this. But there was another video that Harvey released of some guy that might be the same dude, but he's 5 miles away and he's crawling around in an alley or something like that. Have you seen that? And what do you make of it?
I've seen it. I don't know what to make of it. It's curious. It's one of these things that we'll have to reserve judgment until we see if there is any connection. Look, we got burglars and we got prowlers. We got people that go out and break into cars all hours of the night. And, that happens in Tucson. It happens in Atlanta and everywhere else that we live. So it could be unrelated or it could be the same guy. But that's for the experts to figure out.
Phil Holloway, great to have you on. I know how hard you're working out there, and it's just hard to tell how this is going to wrap up. I wake up every morning, is there a resolution here? Hoping for a resolution, and we still don't have one. So good luck with everything, and thank you so much for squeezing me in this afternoon.
Sure, buddy. Anytime. Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got southbound 55 really slowing, headed down toward Bates in the construction zone. 64 westbound, slow pockets from Kings Highway out through 270. It's really jammed, headed for Clarkson. There was an earlier accident to the west of there in the right lane. 70, moderate volume, Jennings Station Road past the airport, and then it looks better. Southbound 270, pockets of moderate volume from Olive down through Gravois. Southbound 170, a little slow at 6440, and we've got volume eastbound 40 on either side of the Interbelt. On the Illinois side, just some volume eastbound 64 on either side of 157. But if you're headed in on any of the bridges downtown, they actually look good. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis. It's full of the latest, most custom designs. It's right there in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Every once in a while, you'll hear us here at 97.1 FM talk about the Show Me Institute, or maybe we feature Brenda Talent, who is the executive director of the Show Me Institute. The Show Me Institute is here in St. Louis. It's in the West End. It's the only think tank in the state dedicated to promoting free markets and individual liberty. And we use them, hosts like me, as a resource with guests and, to explore topics. You can do the same thing. If you go to showmeinstitute.org, they have great papers and, different publications and articles about a variety of issues, including public safety in the city of St. Louis, grade inflation in our schools. There's something called the Data Act in Washington, D.C. that they just wrote about, and that has to do with the electricity sector and some of the, maze of regulations that they deal with in that particular industry. So you can use them as a great resource just to read up on some of the issues. They often link to some of the interviews that we do as well. So check out the Show Me Institute today. It's real easy. ShowMeInstitute.org. If you're into promoting free markets and individual liberty, they are too. The Show Me Institute.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL. Or visit civialaw.com.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis roofing, siding, and gutter systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists.
If you've listened to 97.1 FM Talk, you've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio every Saturday at 2, right here on 97.1 FM Talk, and you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
5:35, this portion of the show on a Thursday is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Festus to Freeburg, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Audio cut of the day before the half hour is up. Of course, tomorrow we have a Reardon Roundtable. Eureka's Mayor Sean Flower will be on the panel along with John Gaskin, who's a Democrat lobbyist. We will start at 3 p.m. tomorrow. I saw this piece in Real Clear Investigations this week, and Sue and I always like to talk about the scams out there that are taking place because they're so easy to fall for. And Nancy Rommelmann, who is a reporter and wrote about this on Real Clear, joins me tonight to share a story about her mother, which I think will be a lot of folks will be able to relate to. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mark. Nice to be back.
So,
yeah.
I want you to tell your story. Let me just tell a real quick story on my own. So last year, I was at home, and I get an email, and it says that, there's an invoice that hasn't been paid. And I'm usually really sensitive to these things, right? But in that particular instance, I can't remember what it was. It was something that I thought maybe the credit card had expired. I think that's what they were telling me. So I go in there, and I put the information, and I put my debit card in, and I hit it. And within 3 minutes, I got a fraud alert because it was a complete scam. Yeah. And whenever I see stories like yours, and I want you to share with the audience, I think if I can fall for it, not that I'm that smart, but these things are so sophisticated, and elderly people, everyone's being taken advantage of, but older people in particular, like your mother, fall victims to these things too often.
100%. One thing in terms of those emails, what people should do, and even though they're getting sophisticated about this, look at the URL.
I know.
If it doesn't look normal, then it's not normal.
Nancy,
and yet have a fraud alert.
That's what I did. You know what? I felt, because as soon as I got the fraud alert, then I click on the email address and I see where it's from. And I'm like, how dumb am I? But again, it was like in the moment, I was busy that morning. I thought, oh no, I got to change the card number, and you fall for it.
But, you think about our parents or our grandparents, people that are in their 70s or 80s or beyond, they didn't grow up with the internet. So what do they have? They have landlines still, right?
Right.
And the phone rings. These people are older. They're lonely. Sometimes they're widowed. Maybe their kids don't live so close. They don't come around often enough. And somebody calls on the phone. And what do scammers know how to do? They know how to scam.
Yeah.
And they ingratiate themselves. And they subtly, because they're con artists, they find out these little, like fortune tellers, these little things that are going to appeal to the person. And the person all of a sudden is going to give them money. Or they call and scare the person. In my mother's case, somebody called and said the police were on their way to arrest her.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, she had started to have memory issues. I, at the time, was living on the West Coast. She was in New York City. And she called me terrified. And I'm like, Mom, they're not going to come and arrest you. And it turns out the guy, he was going to fix the problem for her. All she needed to do was give him her Social Security number.
Oh, of course. Right?
Oh, of course. But one thing your listeners may not know, but it also makes perfect sense if you think about it, 60% of the scams and sort of taking advantage of older people come from inside the family, which is really sad.
Okay, so I'm glad you said this because in your piece, and you can maybe go into more details here of how this happened. You take over your mom's finances in 2021, and you very quickly realize that there are some things that are very strange. And then in the end, you said that you have scammers who promised her that she had won a Mercedes, home health aides who inflated their hours, people forging my mother's signature, and this is the line that caught my attention, and a relative who had her sign over her car. So that's an inside job.
Well, yeah, there are inside jobs. And if you think about it, Mark, this makes sense because who's spending time with mom?
Trust, yeah,
it's
people
not
they
to
trust.
Be the guy at the drugstore.
Right.
Right? Now, and here's the thing. Like, you can say, okay, I'm going to take out the landline. I'm going to make sure she doesn't have access to her credit cards anymore. I'm going to check her bank statements. And all of those things you can do. But you can, unless you're going to be with your old one 24/7, you are not going to be able to catch all the clever ways that people know how to take advantage. They smell money, and it's not just that. You mentioned the caregivers that will pad their hours. I don't know if you saw yesterday the jobs report. What's the biggest sector growing in this country? It's healthcare.
Yeah.
Because we have old people that need care. And Medicare is, of course, a mess, and the health insurance industry is a mess. And they are going to be taken advantage of. I mean, I can almost guarantee that. And it's terribly sad, but you just have to be so incredibly diligent about it.
You had some great advice here for folks who have aging parents, right? And, if you're worried, you said get a handle on their finances 5 years earlier than you think you need to.
I have friends, our parents are all in their 70s or 80s, and we are becoming evangelists for them. Like, we'll go out to a bar. Listen, you got to get a handle on your parents' finances 5 years before you think you need to, because by the time you get there, first of all, they either don't know what's going on, or they're embarrassed, or they've been in charge all this time. Who are you snot-nosed kid, right, to get into my finances?
Right.
But this is, I mentioned a friend of mine whose father had signed a $26,000 contract for computer security for a $500 desktop. And he was paying $250 a week to this guy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
the stories go on and on. I want you to share the story that you wrote about. I don't know if you know this person in particular, but you mentioned this story that this psychologist, Laura Barter, tells about an 85-year-old patient. This patient thought that she was dating Richard Gere, right?
So what happened? She was widowed, and she got a text from someone, Richard Gere. They started this. I mean, we've all texted with people maybe that we're romantic with. It's very fun and it's very sexy. And he told, it was the pandemic, and he told her he was going through a divorce, so he couldn't have access to his funds. And she's like, well, I can do this. She sent him the equivalent of more than $20,000. And and he was going to come, and he was going to come for the holidays, and she got her family all ready. Of course, he didn't show up. Oh, I had an excuse. And when her kids tried to stop this, she was livid. Do you not want me to be happy? Do you want me to not find love? And then when they got power of attorney and wrested back the estate, she was trying to sell her jewelry to get more money to send to her movie star lover. I know.
So that's like the psychology of all this gets very, very confusing, right? Wow.
Well, the number one thing, and again, Dr. Borchford said this, the number one thing that the elderly deal with is loneliness. They are lonely. And I think we all need to understand that and do a better job. And it's not just about I got to visit mom more, which is also a good idea. But the systems we have set up right now, they are just full of holes. And everybody is yelling. And I think the average amount of people that they get scammed is $83,000. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. Look, you closed this piece you had a lot of issues with your mom. You go back to January of 2013, and you had this was her third husband had passed away, and a lawyer took advantage of her.
Yes, he did. She was already. My mom thought she was good with money. She wasn't. So she's like, "Can you come with me?" I'm like, "Sure, no problem." And when I get there, I can see immediately these guys are looking at me like, oh, man, we don't need this youngish person here who's going to check our math. And she thought she was super friendly. This lawyer had married her and her husband when her husband was in the hospital dying. They'd been together a long time, but they finally, tied the knot. And he wanted her to sign a piece of paper that signed over half of her husband's tractor dealership. And I'm like, why would she do this? And they're like, oh, it's not important. Not important. And I was like, wow, we really dodged a bullet. Then when I wasn't there, she went in later in the week and signed it. And when I asked her why, she said, I thought they loved me. I thought I trusted them. I trusted these people. You better believe the people that they still love and trust and remember, they're going to sign things that they shouldn't.
Nancy, this is so important. I'm so glad you came on here because we do talk about these things all the time. And, you know, my parents are in their 80s. My sisters look up after them in Chicago. But, yeah, I mean, it's scary. And all this AI stuff is making it even more complicated and worse. So really, really good investigation. Terrible. Yeah, Nancy Rommelmann, thank you so much for sharing your story and your mom. And stay well, okay?
You too. Thanks
all right,
for having me.
take care. Audio cut of the day is coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some volume out there, but it looks pretty good. Now, if you are westbound on 70, look for a slowdown at Jennings Station Road. That's not unusual. A little bit past 94 and at Wentzville, but that's it. 6440, still moderate volume approaching Hampton out through McCausland, and eastbound is a little slow at the Inner Belt. But westbound, just some moderate volume past Clarkson now, and then it opens up. 270 southbound, not bad. And 55, just a little slow around Bates. Now, things look great on the Poplar Street Bridge, but 64 eastbound is slow around 157 on the Illinois side, and that is just due to road work. This report brought to you by the fabulous people at the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, not everything about technology is bad. We take advantage of technology in good ways, and I want to talk about your flooring, maybe your soft flooring, silky soft carpeting from Mohawk, or maybe some hard flooring that looks like wood but won't scratch or warp or, you know, get damaged like wood. They have lots of great options for you at Michael's Flooring Outlet. And, you know, they are offering the most advanced technologies in flooring. I've said this time and time again. You have technology in these flooring products which makes them waterproof, pet-proof, very easy to clean, and they look beautiful. And you can do this at a price point that is comfortable as well. And for over 31 years now, Michael's here in St. Louis has been the trusted flooring expert for St. Charles County, for St. Louis County. They have a big inventory, beautiful store in Old Town St. Peters, in Darden Prairie, and in West County on Olive. They're open every day of the week except for Sunday. They have great teams of experts that have worked in this industry for a long time. And then they have the website. The website is awesome too because you can upload pictures. You can even order samples. I recommend you go in person. But they will take great care of you with your flooring project. IGotFloor.com from Michael's Flooring Outlet.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today. Hi, it's Mark Cox inviting you to join me September 30th as we discover the charm of Switzerland, Austria, and Germany with Colette Travel. Spend 4 nights in Bern and then 4 nights at the foot of the Alps in Innsbruck. From the cobblestone streets to the postcard-worthy mountain landscapes of the amazing Alps, we're going to explore the Swiss capital of Bern and lovely Lucerne, the Swiss paradise on the lake. We'll travel the Austrian countryside to Salzburg with a visit to Mozart's birthplace, and then Mirabelle Gardens featured in The Sound of Music. This and so much more. Colette handles all the details. The flights, the meals, the hotels, the local experiences. All you have to do is have the time of your life. Don't miss this trip. Meet me and the folks from Colette to learn more at the Lodge at De Pere, Tuesday, February 24th at 2 p.m. Call Colette at 800-581-8942 or go to 971talk.com/events for details.
Many times, a person hires a law firm after an injury without doing research. It can be a big mistake or not. Sometimes, after you have hired a certain lawyer, you realize you made a certain mistake. But guess what? Just because you hire them doesn't mean you can't fire them. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you think you've hired the wrong firm, you may have. So do this. Google Morgan & Morgan results or visit forthepeople.com for cases just like yours. You may find that our full-service injury firm should have been your choice in the first place. Last year, almost 12,000 people discharged their law firm and hired us after further research. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason. Visit forthepeople.com today and let's get started. Or call Pound Law on your cell phone. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's best eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Well, it was Sue's birthday yesterday. Did you have a nice birthday dinner? Is that what you did last night?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
It's my buddy Oreo's birthday today. He's 2, Sue. He'll have some kale and a grape and maybe a strawberry for his birthday celebration. I can't believe I've had that damn thing for 2 years already. Can you?
I can't either. That's kind of.
I mean, we didn't get him until April, but then this is his. We don't know the exact birthday, but this is the one we've settled.
Well,
on, okay,
sure.
So just so you know, I'm going to maybe do some spoilers here on the Olympics. So if you're going to watch the ice dancing tonight, you may want to tune out. But did you hear what happened?
No.
Okay, so do you want to know? Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, heavy favorites, right?
Yes.
They didn't win the gold.
Oh, Fred
They
told
took
me.
the silver, but listen to what happened, all right? So this is Colin Rugg, who's out there on Twitter with a lot of reports, is reporting this. There's a French judge that is accused of rigging the event to give France the gold medal. So here it is. 5 of the 9 judges gave Chalk and Bates the top score. The other 4 gave Baudry and Cizeron the top score, right?
Okay.
Thanks to the French judge, however, Baudry and Cizeron, I may be pronouncing their names wrong, were able to take the gold considering she gave Team USA a much lower score than the other judges. So they say not only did she judge the French pair 6.45 points higher than the mean, she undervalued Chalk and Bates by negative 7.19, giving us, and this is all confusing, a plus 13.64 delta favoring France over the USA in the final score. So basically, you had a different, a real staggering deviation from the score differences across the event. And I guess that the people upset about this says there's been a consistent pattern from that judge over multiple events of juicing scores for Baudry and Cizeron in the ice dance while filling low scores out for their opponents, from their opponents. Now, I don't know if, and they only won by 1.43 points, right? So that seems to be pretty significant. They did an interview, Chalk and Bates. They're married, I didn't know that. I had to ask you that, remember? Because she was rubbing his back. I'm like, are they married?
Yeah,
they are.
They were.
They want more transparent judging, and you would think that something like this could be investigated.
Well,
but wow.
yeah. I mean, to have that happen, you work that hard, but if they can establish a pattern.
Right. But that's been kind of the standing joke about the Olympics for years, right? What did the Russian judge give you? Everybody gives you 10.0s except for the Russian judge.
And how do you become a judge? I have no idea.
You would think that there'd be pretty...
Yes, I would think it'd be stringent.
Look, what I just told you is clearly one side of the story for people that are upset about this. Maybe there's more to it. Some of this stuff, like when I was watching some of the singles ice... No, this was the pairs in the ice dancing. They judge down to the little part of the skate that might be hitting the ice in a certain way. Like if it's angled the wrong way or it doesn't touch. I'm not explaining this as well as Johnny and what's her name did the other night. But it's incredible because they actually took time to review something and they looked at the skate and the skate wasn't exactly where it needed to be. That's how particular they get with the judging.
Wow.
So we'll see if that, sort of amounts to anything else as the Olympics move on.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
All right, well, I'm going to feature, I got a couple things here, but I got to feature John Fetterman because, we have a situation where the SAVE Act was passed in the House today requiring voter ID. The majority of the American people, including the majority of Democrats, think that that's a good idea. You're now on the cusp of another shutdown because the Democrats want to hold the whole, budget process hostage. Here again, the only guy in the caucus on the Democrat side of the Senate making sense is John Fetterman from Pennsylvania.
Never going to change my party, but clearly we've lost the argument, and right now I think it's entirely appropriate to really be honest and just figure out why exactly have we effectively lost 2 out of the last 3 cycles, and a lot of the things we've really kind of really lost our connection with American voters in ways. And I think we can't just be, well, Trump is always wrong, or that we're going to set the country on fire or whatever. That's just not true either, of course. But, when I represent a state like Pennsylvania, that keeps you honest. And you always can't forget that a lot of Americans happen to disagree with you. That does not mean that they are fascists or now they want to shred the Constitution.
Was that hard? Was that hard to say? No, it wasn't.
No.
Okay. Well, it got a little. That was calm, right? Kind of kept his tone pretty low. That did not happen with one of our senators today. And the Attorney General of Minnesota, Josh Hawley, wasn't having. Well, he was having fun. Wasn't having a lot of patience for the answers offered by Keith Ellison.
Fraudsters defraud your state and this government of $9 billion, and you got a fat campaign contribution out of it. You ought to be indicted.
And it got hotter from there, believe it or not.
You said, let's go fight these people, meaning the people who were investigating the fraud. Why'd you do it? Why'd you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Please, we're all ears.
So first of all, you're cherry picking quotes out of there.
Why did you help them?
I thought you were going to let me answer.
Why did you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Why did you help them?
You let me answer and I'll answer you.
Tell the truth and I'll let you answer.
I will tell the truth.
Good.
Let's do that.
That'd be a nice change. Why'd you help them?
Now see, Mr. Chairman, I didn't come here to be insulted. I came here voluntarily.
You came here for the truth. Let's have it. Why did you help them? The quotes are here. They're in black and white. Whistleblowers came to you as early as 2019. Let's look. As early as 2019, whistleblower. Don't talk over me.
No,
as early as 2019, it's my hearing, pal. As early as 2019.
Don't call me
whistleblowers came to. Well, I should call you prisoner because you ought to be in jail.
Well, we'll see what you can do about it.
Woo! See what you can do about it. See, this is where maybe a cage fight would be best suited to solving problems in Washington. Sue, have a great night. We'll talk tomorrow. Roundtable at 3.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the Illinois side, eastbound 64 slowing at 157. On the Missouri side, we're thinning out nicely. Westbound traffic on 64, just moderate volume. Hampton through McCausland. Eastbound is slow at Big Bend. And really, other than that, we look good, even on southbound 55 as you head into the construction zone. Things look great on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Tech, sponsored by Ethos.
NVIDIA is full pedal to the metal with its AI factory expansion plans. The AI chipmaker says it's investing $2 billion into CoreWeave,